Chapter 3409. Apart from the traceless way and the supreme weapon, Luli collected some divine liquid as well. He didn't know what the divine liquid could be used for, so he didn't consume it rashly. Back in the underground palace, he didn't absorb it at will. Right, I can take it into the realm of magic. Luli thought about it, whether the divine liquid was poisonous or not. He could take it into the realm of magic first. Condensing the realm of magic would increase its power by at least 10 times. Luli took out all the divine liquid and let the realm of magic absorb it. Then, he flew into the distance and snuck away. He tested his stealth and discovered that the traceless Dao stealth was even faster than the swift art. Similarly, there weren't any fluctuations. If only the traceless way and the stealth could be combined. An idea came to Luli's mind. The traceless way was a Dao, and the swift was a skill. Theoretically speaking, Dao and skill could be combined. Many skills were derived from Dao. Therefore, it was not that Dao and skill could not be combined. It was just how to do it. The stealth was to make use of a special law to make enemies unable to sense one's presence. Any warrior would have to use their eyes, nose, ears, or psychic power to sense others. The swift could also sense through ripples in space or changes in heaven and earth. The swift did not make the warrior disappear, but it made living beings unable to sense him. It was like a deceptive skill. The warrior was there, but he could not be seen, heard, smelled, or felt. That was the essence of the swift. Essentially, Luli was always there, and he never disappeared. But the traceless way was different. The traceless way was to integrate the warrior into heaven and earth, becoming one with heaven and earth. Luli was heaven and heaven was Luli. No matter how hard one tried, one could not find anything. How could one find Luli? Become one with heaven and earth? Then, can I borrow some force in heaven and earth? A bold idea came to Luli's mind. If he could borrow some origin energy in heaven and earth, how different would he be from a warrior who was infinitely close to the complete realm? By then, he would be even more powerful. While Luli snuck away, he began to think, make deductions, and verify. He was using the traceless way. His speed was slower than usual, but it was fast enough, much faster than the swift. After 4 or 5 days of stealth, Luli felt his soul getting tired and his body getting weaker. He knew that he couldn't release the traceless Dao indefinitely. His body and soul couldn't handle it. He stopped to rest and entered the Dharma realm to rest for a day. Then, he continued on his way. After traveling for another 3 days, he encountered martial artists. There were 2 groups of people fighting in front of him. There were several dozen saint emperors, and 2 experts who were infinitely close to great perfection were fighting in the air. Give it a try. Luli was intrigued. He wanted to test the power of the traceless Dao. At the same time, he wanted to confirm something so that he could continue to study the traceless Dao. His body floated over and silently approached the battlefield. Needless to say, the saint emperors and great emperors fighting on the ground could not see him. He could even pass between the 2 saint emperors without them noticing. Luli only had to dodge their attacks. He easily passed through the battlefield, but he was not satisfied. Instead, he circled back and circled around the battlefield. Like a gust of wind, he moved to the left and to the right at will. His speed was at the extreme as well. He could dodge the attacks of average saint emperors. What he really wanted to see was if the 2 powerful warriors up there could see him. If they couldn't, then the traceless Dao was truly impressive. He could then travel across the immortal region without fear of being hunted down by average warriors. Maybe the battle above was fierce, or maybe the 2 powerful warriors didn't care about the battle below. Luli had been circling around the battlefield for almost an hour. None of the powerful warriors up there had sent psychic power down. Let's do it. Luli made up his mind. He flew up like a breeze. The 2 powerful warriors up there were fighting fiercely. They were evenly matched. Even if they noticed him, he could go back to the Dharma realm and run away. He didn't dare to get too close. After he flew up, he was thousands of miles away from the 2 warriors who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm. He circled around them, but the 2 powerful warriors didn't seem to notice him. They were still fighting. When Luli was 1 or 2,000 miles away, he didn't dare to go any closer. The attacks from the warriors who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm were horrifying. Luli's defense was not strong enough. He circled around them, but the two powerful warriors still ignored him. After some thoughts, Luli released a strand of killing intent that enveloped the two powerful warriors. The gazes of the two supreme powerhouses swept over at the same time, and their faces were filled with vigilance. Luli let go of his killing intent. He drifted down to the left like a breeze. He kept his eyes on the two powerful warriors, observing their expressions. The two powerful warriors were confused. They stared at where Luli was and used psychic power to check, but found nothing. They continued to fight, but held back. They seemed to be wary and kept an eye on the surroundings. Nice! Luli was overjoyed. He was absolutely sure now. The traceless Tao was indeed a path that defied nature. Warriors infinitely close to the great perfection realm couldn't sense him. He hadn't learned everything yet. When he did, it was possible that even warriors at the great perfection realm couldn't find him. I can go anywhere in the world. Luli was filled with pride. He believed that he was now one of the most powerful assassins among the Reapers. Not even the average warriors could compete with him. With the traceless Tao, he could sneak up to warriors infinitely close to the great perfection realm and then launch a sneak attack with flames or divine elixir of destruction. If nothing went wrong, he could kill some warriors infinitely close to the great perfection realm in an instant. Regardless of overall abilities, he should be better than all the Reapers when it came to sneaking around. Let's try again. Luli calmed himself down and flew up again. He released his killing intent from afar and left at once. The two warriors infinitely close to the great perfection realm were taken aback again. At this moment, they both stopped fighting. Their eyes were filled with surprise. Luli's wicked sense of humor was suddenly aroused. He flew to the sky above the two powerful warriors, snorted and sneaked away at once. That snort was like a bolt from the blue. The two warriors infinitely close to the great perfection realm were so scared that their hair stood on end. To be able to silently lurk next to them without them noticing? As far as they were concerned, only warriors at the great perfection realm could do that. But this warrior at the great perfection realm released his killing intent and snorted. What did that mean? It meant that this powerful warrior was not happy. Retreat. One of the warriors infinitely close to the great perfection realm shouted, and then left with his subordinates in a panic. Soon, they disappeared without a trace. The other warrior cupped his fists toward the sky and said, "Sir, please forgive us. We will leave at once." The second warrior, infinitely close to the great perfection realm, also left with his subordinates. His subordinates, however, kept looking back in confusion. There was nothing in the sky. Why were their patriarchs trembling in fear? Chapter 34:10. Two warriors that were very close to the absolute realm had proven the traceless way's power. Luli wasn't sure if all the warriors that were close to the absolute realm couldn't see through the traceless way, but at the very least, the average powerful warriors couldn't find him. Luli felt emboldened. He felt there was nowhere in the world he couldn't go. Warriors at the absolute realm wouldn't stoop so low as to attack average warriors. Unless Luli was courting death by provoking a warrior at the absolute realm. By then, a warrior at the absolute realm could kill him like a fly, even if he didn't want to. Let's go. Luli was full of confidence. He put on a smile. He floated around in the sky like a gust of wind. He wasn't just flying around randomly. He was testing different uses of the traceless way. He wanted to make himself more powerful and more flexible. Along the way, Luli practiced in many ways. His movements became more and more unpredictable, like a ghost. He was sure that with the traceless way, no Saint King in the world could see him. Apart from some warriors that were infinitely close to the absolute realm, no one else could see through his stealth. After practicing for more than 10 days, Luli had mastered the use of the traceless way. He rested for a day in the realm of magic and flew toward the north as fast as he could after he came out. With the traceless way, he had nothing to worry about. He had the trace of the great Tao and the realm of magic. So what if he was spotted by a powerful warrior? So what if there were tens of thousands of warriors fighting in front of him? Even if there were dozens of warriors that were infinitely close to the absolute realm, what was there to be afraid of? This place was not far away from the battlefield at the north. If Luli flew at the top of his speed, it would take him a month at most. Maybe it was because this place was close to the battlefield at the north that there weren't too many warriors here. Of course, Luli still avoided some dangerous areas. He didn't think he was invincible with the traceless way. After more than 10 days, Luli passed by a mountain. From the distance, he could feel the chi and energy of an immortal beast, a very powerful one. Luli wanted to avoid it, but on second thought, he thought he could go and see if the immortal beast could see him. The immortal beast should be as powerful as a warrior that was infinitely close to the absolute realm. It would be a good test subject. Luli flew over like a breeze, and soon he rushed into the mountain. There was a valley in the mountain, and the beast was lurking in the valley. Before Luli got close to the valley, he could already feel the terrifying chi and blood of the immortal beast. He slowly approached. The immortal beast clearly did not notice him and was sleeping soundly in the valley. Luli activated the mark of the great Tao with all his might, constantly sensing the situation of the immortal beast. 1,000 miles, 500 miles, 100 miles. A smile appeared on Luli's face again. If the immortal beast couldn't find him at such a close distance, then it definitely couldn't find him. Under normal circumstances, this immortal beast would have opened its eyes and roared. Immortal beasts were very sensitive to the chi and energy of living beings, especially Luli, who cultivated his body. His chi and blood were vigorous. Even if Luli released the occult concealment skill, Luli would still be able to detect him. Luli released some killing intent after some thoughts. Sure enough, the huge immortal beast opened its eyes, raised its head to the sky and roared, then charged towards them. Luli had already stealthily left. The immortal beast rushed over and arrived at the area where Luli was just standing. It roared and breathed out a puff of black smoke. All the flowers and trees nearby died instantly. While roaring, the immortal beast breathed out the black smoke. An area with a radius of dozens of miles became a dead land. After attacking for a while, the immortal beast went back in embarrassment because it could not sense Luli's presence. Luli was reassured. It seemed that this immortal beast could not find him. Luli didn't leave right away. He wandered around nearby. At the closest he got, he was only 3 miles away from the immortal beast. He was sure that this immortal beast could not find him. The traceless way was really amazing. Moo! Luli left quickly and flew toward the north. After he was 30 miles away, Luli showed himself and moved forward as fast as he could. After another month, Luli was close to the battlefield in the north. There were more scouts here. Instead of using the traceless way, Luli used the occult concealment skill to move forward. The further north he went, the more scouts and warriors there were. There were even military camps. Luli wondered how many warriors were gathered here. Luli wanted to catch a scout and ask where Lu Xiaobai was. But he was afraid that the scout might not even know where Lu Xiaobai was. If he acted rashly and alerted the enemy, the powerful warriors here would notice. Luli decided to wander around to see if there was a small city. It would be easier to gather information in a city. After a few days, he realized that there were at least 10 million warriors gathered here. There were countless Saint Sovereign Realm warriors and hundreds of warriors that were very close to the absolute completion realm. The military camps were arranged in a special way. They were built with some kind of powerful formation. The warriors that were very close to the absolute completion realm did not live together. Instead, they lived separately. In many corners of the camps, there were powerful warriors that were very close to the absolute completion realm. Therefore, Luli didn't dare to go into the camps at will, fearing that he might trigger some rune formations and alert the powerful warriors inside. After walking around for a few days, Luli found a small city. This city was probably built because of the war. Many parts of the city were new. It must have been built not long ago. Is this city under military control? Luli checked for a while and frowned. The city was filled with warriors. He would have to disguise himself as one if he wanted to go in. Luli observed for a while and realized that all the warriors had tokens. Without tokens, they could not enter the city. Is Lu Xiaobai in the city? Luli thought about it. He had to go in whether Lu Xiaobai was in the city or not. He could gather information in the city, but where could he go outside? He retreated quickly. After flying for 300,000 miles, he found a scout and killed him in one move. Luli stripped the scout, consumed his body, and put on the warrior's armor and weapon. Luli took the warrior's token. Luli also consumed the token, so it contained his soul and chi. He used skill of transfiguration and swaggered into the city. A warrior stopped him at the city gate. After the token was verified, the warrior waved his hand and Luli entered the city. This city was indeed filled with soldiers. Inside were all restaurants, gambling dens, brothels, and the like. This city was built for these soldiers to relax and take a rest. Lu Xiaobai is not in the city. Luli came to this conclusion after he wandered around the city. He didn't sense any warrior that was close to the absolute completion realm in the city. Lu Xiaobai was a powerful warrior of this realm, not to mention that he would be protected by more than a dozen powerful warriors. There was not a single powerful warrior in the city. Lu Xiaobai was not here. Luli was not worried that he could not find Lu Xiaobai. There were so many restaurants, brothels, and gambling houses in the city. There were more than 100,000 warriors here. It would be easy for them to find out Lu Xiaobai's whereabouts. Chapter 34:11. It was easy to get information. Luli only sat in the tavern for half a day before he learned the whereabouts of Lu Xiaobai. Lu Xiaobai was not in the city, nor was he in the barracks. He went to a mountain nearby. There was an ancient tomb in the mountain, which was discovered because of the recent war. It was not that Lu Xiaobai was looking for treasures. As the son of the king of the eastern region, he had all kinds of treasures. He entered the tomb because he had been fighting with the son of the king of the northern region for a long time. Both sides suffered heavy casualties. After the tomb appeared, the son of the king of the northern region proposed a bet. Each side would bring 10 powerful warriors in to see who would get the relic weapon of the master of the tomb first. Whoever got the relic weapon of the master of the tomb would win. The loser must make an announcement to admit defeat and stay away from the other side in the future. This was the fight between the young generation. The older generation had already determined the winner. The strength of the kings of the 9 regions had been ranked. Now, it was time for the younger generation to fight. Lu Xiaobai had just started a fight with the son of the king of the northern region. Now, he was fighting with the son of the king of the northern region. They were fighting for the first place of the young generation. The fight of martial arts had become a fight of words. The fight of martial arts had not come to an end. Neither side could do anything to the other, so they resorted to words. Let's see who would get the relic weapon of the master of the tomb. Then the other side would admit defeat and announce it to the world. Once the announcement was made, the reputation of the other side would be affected. This would prove that the son of a king was suppressing the other. This would affect the state of mind of the loser and slow down his progress of cultivation. If this went on, the loser might be suppressed by the winner for the rest of his life. Lu Xiaobai and the son of the king of the northern region, Bio, had been in the tomb for more than a year, and they still hadn't come out. Since the generals of both sides were not here, the armies would not start fight. They would wait for the final result to see who would win and who would lose. Reputation was important, especially for the son of the king of the northern region. If one wanted to be promoted in the future, then he must have combat abilities and achievements that could convince the major clans and powerful warriors. Therefore, the fight between the young kings had always existed in history. East, west, south, north, central, profound, Kuan, origin battle. These 9 realms divided up the majority of the immortal region. Although there were many paragon-level cultivators in the immortal region, and there were 2 in the Cloud King city, the king of the 9 realms was the strongest in the immortal region. Whether it was in terms of combat strength or power, there was no doubt about it. If not, how could they dominate an area? It was said that the king of the eastern region did not have much lifespan left. If Lu Xiaobai wanted to ascend to the throne, he would need to have strong combat power and a glorious record. In history, the kings of the younger generation also grew up through constant battles. Whether or not they could defeat Bio was very important to Lu Xiaobai. Of course, it was also very important to Bio. If Bio failed, the king of the north might choose another son to groom. However, the king of the eastern region only had one son. Once Lu Xiaobai was defeated this time, it would also have a great psychological impact on him. It might be difficult for him to become a great perfection expert in the future. At that time, the king of the eastern region would change hands. This was the information Luli found out. Luli sat in the tavern for half a day, trying to find out when Lu Xiaobai and the others would come out. But who could he ask for such information? Who could know? They didn't enter the tomb. Lu Xiaobai and the others were probably the only ones who knew what was going on in the tomb. It should be soon, right? Luli pondered. It had been more than a year since they went in. Lu Xiaobai and Bio each brought 10 powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection. Even if the two sides fought a battle of wits and courage and fought to the death, at least one thing was certain. Lu Xiaobai and Bio would not die. They could fight, but there could be no deaths. His subordinates could die, but Lu Xiaobai and Bio could not, especially Lu Xiaobai. Once Lu Xiaobai died, the rage of the king of the eastern region would burst out and burn the entire northern region to the ground. This was also the tacit understanding between the realms. These young masters could not be killed. With 10 subordinates, not to mention their combat power, at least they each had their own skills. They could be sure that Lu Xiaobai and Bio would come out alive. Therefore, Luli estimated that it had been more than a year. The battle between Lu Xiaobai and Bio was probably about to end. Let's wait. Luli never thought about going into the tomb. First of all, he might not be able to go in. The entrance to the tomb was guarded by powerful warriors from both sides. What if some old demons sneaked in and assassinated their young masters? Secondly, Lu Xiaobai and the others had been in there for more than a year. They must have reached the deepest part of the tomb. Luli might not be able to catch up with them. Maybe by the time he went in, Lu Xiaobai and the others would come out. Luli decided to rest in the city and wait for half a year. He believed that in a year at most, Lu Xiaobai and the others would come out. By then, he could tell if Lu Xiaobai was little white just by looking at them from the distance. There were guest rooms in the tavern, but they were expensive. Luli was not in need of celestial stones. The city was under military control, and it was quite chaotic. Lu Xiaobai had mobilized many major races at the north. When Lu Xiaobai was here, the warriors of those races were obedient. But when Lu Xiaobai was not here, they would be in chaos. Therefore, when Luli lived in the city for a while, no warrior would pay attention to him. There were also martial artists in the military camp or in the restaurants to cultivate in seclusion, so this was normal. Luli activated the divine patterns in the room. Then he asked Blood Fairy to build some inhibition formations. He began to cultivate. While consuming the elixirs, he studied the traceless path. He did not consume the elixirs he obtained from the tomb of Yen King. Those elixirs were tens of thousands of years old. One elixir could be compared to at least 1,000 average ones. There were more than 100 of them. If he were to consume them all, he could finish them in a month at most. Luli did not want to consume the elixirs. This was not a good place to do so. Should the strong effects of the elixirs leak out, he would be in trouble. Consuming the elixirs was not a big deal. His physical body and soul were improving slowly. His priority was to study the traceless path. For him, the traceless path was the most important thing. As long as he could master the traceless path, he could go anywhere in the world. Not even a warrior at the absolute realm could find him. It was comfortable to cultivate in the tavern. The tavern was run by major families. Naturally, no warriors dared to make trouble here. Luli himself was an imposter. Therefore, no one came to him. He cultivated quietly for half a year. Lu Xiaobai and the others had not come out yet. Luli was not in a hurry. After all, Lu Xiaobai and the others would come out sooner or later. He would not be trapped in there forever. Another 4 months later, Lu Li suddenly woke up. He felt it was noisy outside. He had activated the divine patterns, and Blood Fairy had built some. How could he hear what was going on outside? How messy was it out there? He used the traceless path at once to hide. He used the trace of the great path to check carefully. Soon he was taken aback. It was not only noisy, but also chaotic. It was as if the sky was falling. Something was wrong. From the ancient tomb came out a warrior who was very close to a warrior at the absolute realm. He brought back a piece of news. Lu Xiaobai was trapped and in danger. Chapter 34:12. It was not a big deal that Lu Xiaobai was trapped. It was scary that he was in danger. If Lu Xiaobai died in this ancient tomb, the warriors could not imagine how furious the king of the East region would be. Would all the warriors here be slaughtered, and even these big clans would be implicated? Among the 9 realm kings, the king of the East region was recognized as a powerful and hot-tempered supreme master. He was an immortal beast and had a violent personality. He became the king of the East region by stepping on the corpses of countless powerful warriors. During the years he ruled the East region, countless big clans that disobeyed him were exterminated by him. His violent and cruel name spread throughout the celestial region. His son was found not long ago, and he did not have much time left in his life. How could he not love his son? If Lu Xiaobai said he wanted to marry the little princess of a realm king or something, he would definitely propose immediately. If the other party was not willing, he would probably snatch it by himself. In the hearts of all warriors, any warrior in the East region could die, even warriors at the peak, but Lu Xiaobai would never die. Because no powerful warrior dared to kill Lu Xiaobai, not even the king of the East region. Once Lu Xiaobai was touched, and the king of the East region was about to die. At that time, the king of the East region would turn the entire celestial region upside down. If he went crazy, he might even destroy the creatures in that realm. He was about to die. His only son was dead. How could he not go crazy? What kind of situation would happen when a tyrannical, powerful expert went berserk? It was unimaginable. Therefore, the whole city was in chaos at this moment. Some people screamed crazily. Some warriors rushed to the distance to spread the news, and countless soldiers and powerful warriors gathered here from the barracks. Lu Li's heart sank when he heard the news, but he was not too panicked at first. Instead, he patiently listened to the discussions of the warriors outside and inquired about the information. In his opinion, as long as Lu Xiaobai was not dead, the king of the East region would definitely come as soon as possible. There were also warriors at the peak of the East region. There must be clan leaders at the north who were at the peak, and there might even be warriors at the barracks. As long as the warriors at the peak went in, Lu Xiaobai would be saved, right? He soon realized that he was thinking too much. He had forgotten about the Flame Emperor's tomb. Consummate experts couldn't enter the Flame Emperor's tomb. This tomb was similar to the Flame Emperor's tomb. If a perfected expert were to force their way in, the entire space in the tomb would collapse, and Lu Xiaobai would die even faster. It said that the young lord activated the strongest divine inscription grand formation inside, and was suppressed by the formation and the supreme treasure. The 10 experts he brought with him were also suppressed. Only one was lucky enough to escape. Right now, the young lord is on the verge of death. If we don't think of a way, I'm afraid he won't live for long. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. All the experts who were infinitesimally close to the Paragon transformation realm were rushing into the graveyard. With so many experts, it was impossible for them to not be able to decipher the divine inscriptions array, right? Young Lord will definitely be saved. That's right. The news is already spread. All the experts in the Eastern region who are proficient in divine inscriptions and formations will rush over here, right? Young Lord definitely won't die. Master God, please protect us. Young Master must survive. Otherwise, our clans will be finished. We will not survive under the wrath of the king of the realm. The cultivators in the city gathered together. The Saint Kings were no longer able to maintain their composure. Worry and fear filled their faces. They were not sad about Lu Xiaobai's death. They were just worried that their clans would be killed by the king of the eastern region. Let's go. Luli listened for a while and then flew toward the northwest at top speed. Lu Xiaobai was suppressed by the divine inscriptions. Blood Fairy had some attainments in divine inscriptions. Luli must go and have a look. If Lu Xiaobai were Little White, Luli would go and save him even at the risk of his life. Luli sped up and dashed toward the Long King Mountain where the ancient tomb was located. The mountain was not far away, only 3 million miles away. Luli arrived in half a day at the top of his speed. Many warriors had gathered here. All of them were warriors and powerful warriors from the eastern region. There were no warriors from the northern region. The army had surrounded the entire mountain and blocked off any information. Luli did not waste time. He used stealth skill and flew into the mountain, avoiding the detection of the warriors. He dashed toward the depth of the mountain. He could sense many warriors and powerful warriors were gathered at the peak. The peak must be the entrance to the ancient tomb. There were warriors close to the consummate realm at the peak. To avoid trouble, Luli released the traceless way and sneaked toward the peak like a ghost. Soon, he arrived at the peak of the mountain. There were some dilapidated palace ruins on the mountain peak, and layers upon layers of soldiers surrounded the palace in the center. Inside the palace stood 3 powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm, and their faces were filled with anxiety. Luli passed through the encirclement of warriors and arrived at the dilapidated palace. He saw a dark entrance. But when he saw the dark glow coming from the entrance, Luli became worried. The entrance was sealed off. With the traceless way, Luli could hide from the 3 warriors. But if he wanted to go in, he would have to break the seal. In that case, the 3 warriors wouldn't notice him. Time was of the essence. Luli could not afford to worry so much. He dashed out and appeared in the palace. What? The hair on the 3 supreme powerhouses stood on end, and the soldiers nearby widened their eyes. A martial artist had actually appeared in the main hall without making a single sound? What was going on? Consummate realm? That was the first thought that came to the warriors and the 3 warriors. Otherwise, they would have sensed Lu Li's presence in the hall. But when they checked with psychic power, they felt Lu Li was like a warrior at the later stage of the Emperor realm. We must be wrong, one of the Saint Emperors murmured. The other warriors shared the same thought. The 3 powerful warriors looked at each other, confused. Lu Li had used the skill of transfiguration to disguise himself as an old man. The 3 powerful warriors did not have the courage to check at will. Therefore, they could not tell that Lu Li was in disguise. One of them thought about it and asked, "Who are you?" "Who I am is not important," Lu Li said coldly. "I am here to save Lu Xiaobai. Open the seal and take me to where Lu Xiaobai is imprisoned." But the 3 warriors were hesitating. Lu Li's identity was unknown. How could they let him in? What if he was an enemy? What if he was here to assassinate Lu Xiaobai? Idiot! Lu Li yelled angrily. "I am not a consummate realm warrior. You have so many powerful warriors in there. Are you afraid that I will do anything? What is more, Lu Xiaobai is about to die. What is there to worry about? If you waste time and cause Lu Xiaobai's death, your realm king will kill you. That is none of my business." The 3 warriors were stunned. On second thought, Lu Li's words made sense. Warriors of the consummate realm could not go in. What was there to be afraid of? There were at least 50 warriors close to the consummate realm in there. How could Lu Li do anything he wanted? "Come with me." An old man with a goat-like face made up his mind. He released a ray of Xian energy to open the seal and then flew in. Lu Li snorted and swaggered in after him. Third Master. Chapter 34:13. Something is not right. After Lu Li went in, a red-haired warrior blinked and sent a message to another warrior. "That warrior. I think he's like the fire demon." "I think so." The other warrior came back to his senses and replied, "He is also at the sovereign realm, and he is a human. It is just that he looks different. His tone is similar. Also, he has a powerful skill of hiding. I couldn't catch up with him even when I tried. Now they are a match." "No." The red-haired warrior was taken aback. He said, "Stay here. I will go in. Otherwise, we will be in trouble. No. The other warrior with brown hair shook his head and said, So what if he is the fire demon? There were 50 experts inside, so he couldn't possibly overturn the heavens. I think the fire demon and young master are old acquaintances. That day, Lord Yu didn't give the letter to young master. Young master was asleep and didn't know. Lord Yu's attitude is strange as well. If the fire demon and young master didn't know each other, why didn't Lord Yu kill him? Why did he ask him to leave? What? Lord Yu didn't give the letter to young master? The eyes of the red-haired supreme expert flashed, somewhat puzzled. He asked, Lord Yu, why are you doing this? Isn't he afraid that young master will be enraged when he finds out? The warrior with brown hair shook his head and said, I don't know. Anyway, I was guarding outside young master's palace that day. I didn't see Lord Yu come in. Lord Yu also told us to keep it a secret. Then we don't care? The red-haired warrior sighed and said, I hope nothing happens to young master this time. Otherwise, you and I will die for sure. The Regent King loves young master so much. Alas, I hope young master is blessed. The brown-haired, utmost powerful being let out a sigh as well. His eyes then flashed with a hint of anger as he said, This time around, it's all Bo's fault. I reckon that the reason why the little lord was suppressed might be because of Bo and the others. If young master dies, Bo will be torn apart by the Regent King, even if he is protected by the King of the North. It is a pity that Bo got away. The red-haired warrior said with pity, If we can take Bo down, even if young master is gone, the Regent King will have a place to vent his anger. The two supreme masters communicated via voice transmission for a while. In the end, they did not say anything. Only two heavy sighs were left. Luli followed the goat-faced warrior inside. As soon as they entered, they saw a magnificent hall with a statue and some treasures. Luli and the goat-faced warrior didn't care. Luli only took a look at the statue before he followed the goat-faced warrior into the tunnel. There was a door at the end of the tunnel which had been opened. Luli and the goat-faced man rushed in. Inside the hall was a rectangular one. Traces of battle could be seen everywhere. Luli could see many runes, but they were all damaged. Luli kept on running. There were many doors in the next hall, some of which were open. The goat-faced man clearly knew the way and led Luli into one of the doors. Behind the door was a pitch-black corridor. The goat-faced expert said, There will be soul monsters attacking here. Be careful. It doesn't matter. White flames came out of Luli's body. He dared not to use the black flames for fear that he would be recognized. As soon as the white flame appeared, the corridor was illuminated and the temperature rose sharply. The man with the goat-like face immediately ran forward. He looked at Luli suspiciously, but didn't say anything. Let's go. Luli waved his hand. With the protection of the flames, average soul monsters wouldn't dare to get close. The goat-faced man moved on quickly, with Luli following him. Not long afterwards, some shadows came out from the walls. As Luli expected, those soul monsters were afraid of the flames, so they didn't attack him. The goat-faced man was a powerful warrior close to the great perfection. It was not difficult for him to deal with these soul monsters. The corridor was long. They made it out in the time for one incense stick to burn. There was a door at the end of the corridor. Luli put away the flames and went in. After a white glare, they appeared in a desert. There were more traces of battle here, and many skeletons of dead immortal beasts were scattered around. Let's go. The goat-faced man didn't linger on this floor. There were many immortal beasts here, but they had all been killed. Lu Xiaobai and the goat-faced man stayed on this floor for a long time to clean up all the immortal beasts here. This time, it took them more than half a day to find the exit. Luli couldn't help but ask, Have you been here before? Yes. The goat-faced man nodded and said, I was one of the first to go in, and I was in charge of leading the team. I know the situation here well. How much longer? Luli asked. The goat-faced man thought about it and said 6 hours. There are 5 more levels. One of them is dangerous, but the dangers in the other places have been dealt with. Luli nodded and followed the goat-faced man. After 4 hours, they had passed through 4 levels and arrived at a narrow mountain path on the 5th level. Up there, the goat-faced man pointed to the mountain path and said, "Young master, they are at the top of the mountain. There is an immortal beast lurking on the mountain path. We can't find the mother. Once we step on a mountain path, we will be attacked by its subsidiary bodies. Those subsidiary bodies are fast, and they can explode themselves. The power is comparable to a strike from me." "That's strong?" Luli raised his eyebrows and looked at the mountain path. Psychic power was restricted on the mountain path. Luli saw a lot of dark green liquid, probably left behind by the subsidiary bodies exploding. "I will distract them. You take care of yourself," the goat-faced man said. A purple haze appeared around him. The haze was tumbling around. It seemed to be a strong defensive skill. The goat-faced man rushed up. Not long after, dark green little beasts appeared from the side of the mountain path. These little beasts were like spiders that had eaten too much. Their bellies were round and round, but their speed was very fast. They madly rushed towards the goat-faced man. Boom, 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 boom. The explosions were powerful. Space was torn apart. However, the mountain path was protected by the divine patterns, so it was not damaged. "Sir, hurry up. I cannot stay on a mountain path for too long. Otherwise, I cannot stand it." The goat-faced man shouted when he saw that Luli was still standing there. Luli waved his hand and said, "Go ahead. Don't worry about me." Buzzing, Luli released the traceless road at once and then vanished. He glided up like a ghost and arrived behind the goat-faced man. Many subsidiary beasts came out, but none of them noticed him. They didn't attack him. What? Realizing that Luli had disappeared, the goat-faced man blinked in confusion. He heard Luli's voice. "I told you to leave him alone. Go ahead. Those small beasts cannot hurt me." Even though Luli was talking to him, the goat-faced man sensed that Luli was behind him. The goat-faced man was afraid. How could he defend himself if Luli wanted to sneak up on him? Maybe he can really save young master? The goat-faced man was shocked. Then he rushed up. Luli followed him as fast as lightning. The mountain path was long, but in the time for dozens of breaths, Luli and the goat-faced man had reached the peak. Luli looked into the peak at once to see what was going on. The next second, he froze and trembled. He could not hide anymore and was forced to reveal himself. His eyes were as round as saucers as he stared straight ahead, completely ignoring the countless gazes directed at him from all directions. There was a glow in his eyes. His lips trembled. After the time for 4 or 5 breaths, he choked with sobs, little, bye. Third Sect Leader. Chapter 34:14. The top of the mountain was flat and spacious, with a radius of more than 100 miles. There was a golden platform at the peak of the mountain. At this moment, there were dozens of experts surrounding the platform. On the platform, there were 9 experts and a small beast. The 9 powerful warriors and the small beast were suppressed by a tripod. The tripod had a radius of more than 100 feet. It was not pressing down on the 9 powerful warriors and the small beast directly. Instead, it was floating in the air. The tripod rotated slowly, glaring. There was a purple airstream coming down from the mouth of the tripod. It was the purple airstream that was suppressing the powerful warriors and the small beast. The small beast was small, only the size of a head. It was white all over without a single strand of hair. It looked like a puppy or a kitten, very cute. Of course, it was not cute at all. It was lying on the ground, covered in blood. Blood was still coming out of its ears, nose, and eyes. Its eyes were closed, and its breath was weak. Clearly, it had passed out. Luli could tell it was Little White at first glance. Even though it was a size bigger, its appearance and its chi and energy were things that Luli would never forget, even if he turned into a ghost. He looked at Little White, and his eyes became misty. Vaguely, he could see the cave in the frigid cloud mountain, the scene where he met Little White for the first time. Back then, Little White looked like a mouse. Small as it was, Little White could suppress the stone rats in the cave. Little White flew into the jute bag on Luli's back and had been with him ever since. They fought at the Thousand Island Lake to the city of mystic armor, to the 9 universes, to the divinity, Little White grew up with Lu Li and fought with him everywhere. It saved his life many times and helped him through many trials. Without Little White, Lu Li would have become a pile of bones. Little White went missing in the divinity. Lu Li remembered that there was an invasion of demons. He told Little White to refine its body in the air, and when he went to look for it, Little White was gone. The divinity, the second heaven, the third heaven, the region of infinite desolation, the region of chaos, and then the immortal region. Lu Li could not remember how many years had passed. It must have been more than 1,000 years. Speaking of which, he did not spend a long time with Little White. Compared to the 1,000 years, it was just a short time. That being said, to Lu Li, Little White had always been important. Little White was like a brother to Lu Li. Little White was closer to Lu Li than to Lu Zhengyang. It had been more than 1,000 years, but when he saw Little White again, he did not feel that it was a stranger. Instead, he felt a sense of familiarity. It was as if he had seen his long-lost younger brother. Little White, Little White. Lu Li cried out in a choked voice. Many people looked over. Lord Yu was among them. Hearing Lu Li's cry, Lord Yu became angry and shouted coldly, saying, Who told you to bring the fire demon in? Fire demon? The expressions of the group of experts turned cold. The fire demon came uninvited. What did he want? Was he trying to murder Lu Xiaobai? Several powerful warriors glared at Lu Li and stared at him with murderous intent. Take him down first. An expert shouted angrily. Lord Yu remained expressionless and did not speak. Obviously, he had tacitly agreed to this point. Immediately, 6 or 7 warriors rushed towards Lu Li and surrounded him. Buzz, right at that moment, on the dais, Little White suddenly glowed. Then, Little White opened its eyes. It seemed to have sensed something. Little White turned to Lu Li. Little White looked at Lu Li with confusion. Seeing that a group of powerful warriors were about to attack Lu Li, Little White moved its lips and said, Stop. Little White's voice was very soft. It sounded very weak and lifeless. But Little White's words were like an imperial edict. None of the powerful warriors dared to move. Lord Yu turned to Little White and said anxiously, Young master, don't talk. Save your strength. Lu Li wanted to release traceless stealth and intimidate the powerful warriors with flames. Hearing Little White's voice, Lu Li looked over and made eye contact with Little White. Lu Li trembled. Then, a glow came over his face, and he came back to his normal self. He shouted, Little White, do you remember me? Little White's eyes were misty. He squinted and stared at Lu Li for a long time before he said, I don't know you, but I feel you are kind like family. The powerful warriors around were stunned. Fire Demon said he was old friends with Lu Li, but it was true. Lord Yu was the only one with a gloomy expression, but he said nothing. Who on earth are you? Xiaobai said once more. Then, he slowly closed his eyes and fainted. All the martial artists present exchanged glances with each other and were a little hesitant. Lu Li and Little White were old friends, and Little White seemed to be close to Lu Li. Then why did Lord Yu say Little White didn't want to see Lu Li? Or maybe Lord Yu didn't give the letter to Little White at all. Lord Yu didn't seem to be surprised at all. So, he already knew about the relationship between Lu Li and Little White. Little White doesn't know me. Lu Li was in a daze. Had too much time passed? Had Little White forgotten about him? But on second thought, Lu Li didn't think it was right. Little White was so kind to him. If Little White didn't know him, then how could it be? Oh, the memory seal. Soon, Lu Li understood why Lord Yu didn't send the letter to Little White. Back then, Lu Ling's memory was sealed. It was not difficult for average Saint emperors, not to mention the King of the East. Lord Yu wanted to train his son well since he found him after so much effort. Since Little White was going to be trained, then it could not be allowed to run around. Otherwise, Little White would go to the divinity to look for Lu Li every couple of days. How could Little White cultivate then? Also, Little White was like a phoenix that fell into a chicken's nest and made friends with some chickens. Naturally, the King of the East didn't want Little White to hang around with Lu Li anymore. Therefore, It was reasonable that Little White's memory was sealed. Lord Yu knew this clearly. He must have been sent here by the King of the East to protect Little White. He didn't want Little White to recognize Lu Li and affect Little White's cultivation. Lord Yu didn't let Lu Li see Little White or kill him. Instead, he saw Lu Li off. Even though Little White's memory was sealed, the past was important to him. There were some vague memories in his mind. That was why he called himself Lu Xiaobai and changed the city to the City of Mystic Armor. Was this the memory in the deepest part of his soul? Lu Li put on a smile after he figured it out. Little White was still Little White, and he was still his best brother. Lu Li looked around and said calmly, "When I visited the City of Mystic Armor, I said that Little White and I were old friends. Many of you should know this. Now you can prove it, right? I don't have any bad intentions. I just want to see if I can save him. Instead of finding a way out, you surround me. What is the meaning of this? Time is precious. If Little White dies because of you, the King of the East will be furious. How many heads do you have?" The few powerful warriors around Lu Li looked at each other. They didn't dare to do anything rash. Lu Xiaobai's attitude towards Lu Li was enough to deter them from doing anything rash. Otherwise, after Lu Xiaobai was rescued and learned about this, they would be in serious trouble. Third Master. Chapter 34:15. The group of powerful warriors looked at Lord Yu, waiting for his order. Lord Yu waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about him. Let's go on." Several powerful warriors stepped back. Their attitude toward Lu Li changed a bit. At least Lu Li and Lu Xiaobai were friends, which was enough. If nothing went wrong, Lu Xiaobai would become the king of the Eastern region in the future. Who dared to offend the friend of the king of the Eastern region? They couldn't wait to suck up to him. Lu Li didn't mind the group of powerful warriors. He looked at the high platform and walked over slowly. When he reached the bottom of the platform, he closed his eyes to sense. First of all, he felt like the sky was pressing down on him. The pressure came from the tripod. Lu Li used the trace of Tao to sense the tripod. He sensed the same energy as the traceless saber. Clearly, the tripod was a treasure of a warrior at the consummate level. The tripod contained the laws, fundamental principles, and Taos of a warrior at the consummate level. Lu Xiaobai and the 8 powerful warriors on the platform were all close to the consummate level. A treasure that could suppress them must be a relic weapon of the consummate level. As a matter of fact, it was not the relic weapon that was suppressing them, but the laws and Taos of the consummate level. No wonder the group of powerful warriors can't do anything. Lu Li sighed. It was tricky. It was impossible to destroy the supreme relic weapon of a warrior at the consummate level. It was possible that the group of powerful warriors couldn't move the tripod even a bit. Otherwise, once the tripod moved, Lu Xiaobai and the others would be saved. Lu Li thought for a while and asked, "You have attacked the tripod. Is there any effect?" "We don't dare to," a powerful warrior said with a bitter smile. "Once we attack the tripod, the suppression will be stronger. Young Master and the others will suffer more." "Have you tried to go up?" Lu Li asked. "Go up and take Little White away." "No." The powerful warrior shook his head and said, "We have all tried. Only some warriors can go up. Also, there is nothing we can do. The pressure is too great. We can't even move. How can we save young Master?" "I will try." Lu Li thought for a while and decided to give a try. Little White was in a bad situation. He could not let it go any longer. Whether it would work or not, he had to try. There were only 2 ways to save Whitey. One was to move the cauldron away. The other was to take Whitey away. So many experts couldn't move the cauldron away, so he definitely couldn't either. Therefore, he could only think of a way to take Little White away. He had the traceless Tao, and his body was almost like a shadow. Perhaps he could resist the pressure from the cauldron? As long as they could withstand it, it would be easy to take Whitey away. When Lu Li said he would give it a try, some powerful warriors' eyes glowed, but more sneered. All of their experts had gone up to try, but they couldn't withstand the pressure and couldn't move at all. What could Lu Li, a warrior at the later stage of the Emperor realm, do? No, could he go up? None of the warriors suspected that Lu Li was going to murder Lu Xiaobai. Judging from Lu Xiaobai's attitude, Lu Li was his good friend, so Lu Li would not harm him. Lu Li came all the way from the Mystic Armor City just to hurt Lu Xiaobai? That didn't make sense. Besides, Lu Li wouldn't dare to mess around with the son of the king of the eastern region. Therefore, none of the powerful warriors said anything about Lu Li going up. Not even Lord Yu said anything. It would be good if Lu Li could save Little White. Lord Yu was not only Lu Xiaobai's caretaker, but he also loved Little White from the bottom of his heart. This high platform was conical in shape, and there were steps of stone stairs. It was more like a pyramid without a spire. There were 9 stairs in total. Lu Li stepped onto the first one directly. Crack! As soon as Lu Li set foot on the first one, he felt like he was being pressed down by a mountain. He bent his back, and his bones were making cracking sounds. He almost fell to the ground. The gravity here is freaky. Lu Li took a deep breath and continued to walk up. Soon, he was standing on the second stone stair. He was trembling, and he felt he could not stand still. He paused for a moment before he moved on. He made it to the third one, but he couldn't stand anymore. He made up his mind to release the dragon manipulation skill and the dragon transformation. His robe was torn apart. Silver scales grew out from his body. He grew a dragon tail, wings, and horns. He became a dragon warrior. The warriors around were surprised, but didn't mind. Lu Li was a dragon warrior, but he was not strong enough. As far as they were concerned, they could easily kill Lu Li. After the transformation, Lu Li's strength was increased. He walked up and climbed up 2 stairs in one go. It became more difficult to go up further. Lu Li made up his mind and kept going. When he reached the 7th step, it became more difficult for him. 8 at most. One of the experts below murmured. Many of them had only climbed up to the 8th step, and some had climbed up to the 9th step. Therefore, they didn't want Lu Li to go that high. It would be humiliating for them. Lu Li, an Emperor Realm warrior, could go up to the 8th or 9th. They were warriors that were close to the completion. How could they compare to an Emperor Realm warrior? Wouldn't that be humiliating? Lu Li also felt that the 8th step might be his limit. This time, he climbed up directly. He climbed to the 8th step on his hands and feet. He felt he couldn't move anymore. It was impossible for him to climb to the 9th step with his physical strength. That's what I said. Reaching level 8 is already the limit. That's not bad. He has a strong physical body. Otherwise, he can't go to the 8th step. He wants to go up and save our young master. Ridiculous. There were some discussions and some mocking voices, as if they were mocking Lu Li for overestimating his capabilities. But as soon as they said that, all the powerful warriors were stunned. Lu Li disappeared. Lu Li gave off a white glare and then disappeared from the stairs. No matter how hard the powerful warriors tried, they could not find him. Even Lord Yu was shocked. He was only an Emperor Realm warrior. No matter how good he was at hiding, he couldn't disappear under the nose of so many powerful warriors. Only the powerful warrior with the goat-like face was not surprised. Lu Li had shown his amazing skills before. Lord Yu regained his composure soon. He had sent a powerful warrior to track Lu Li, but that warrior failed. It seemed that Lu Li was really good at hiding. Look, all of a sudden, a powerful warrior shouted in shock. The others looked over. Lu Li suddenly showed up on the platform. Without anyone noticing, Lu Li had climbed to the platform from the 8th stair without anyone noticing. Maybe our young master can be saved? Many powerful warriors' eyes glowed. Lu Li could get to the platform so easily. Maybe he could move on the platform. If he could move, then Little White could be saved. Third Master. Chapter 34:16. It was not as easy as the warriors thought. Lu Li released the traceless way and went up easily. However, he had revealed himself. The reason why he had revealed himself was because he had been suppressed. If it wasn't for the fact that he was being suppressed, how could his figure be revealed? He was immobilized. Although he did not feel that the pressure was particularly terrifying, he still felt an indescribable pressure that suppressed his body and made him unable to move. Of course, he was confident that he could fight back and fall down. In that case, all his previous efforts would be in vain. That was not a big deal. What was more important was that he could not save Little White. Little White was in a serious situation. Maybe it was because he was already injured. Now, he was in the most serious condition. His chi and energy were weak, as if he could die at any moment. Take it easy. Luli sat with his legs crossed. He used the trace of Tao to sense and find a way out. The first thing he focused on was the tripod. If he could take control of the tripod, then everything would be fine. The thing was, the tripod was floating in midair. How could he take control of it? He tried to sense carefully. Time flew by. Soon, half a day had passed. The dozens of warriors were waiting anxiously. Luli had been sitting still. They had tried to come up with something, but nothing worked. Now, they could only pin their hopes on the king of the eastern region. They had transmitted the situation to the king of the eastern region, hoping that he could give them some advice. The king of the eastern region was one of the most powerful supreme warriors in the world. They had high hopes for Luli. Now that Luli didn't move, they realized that they had been expecting too much. Luli was only at the later stage of the Emperor realm. So many of them couldn't do anything. What could Luli do? Luli had been studying the tripod, hoping that he could learn the principles contained in the tripod in a short time. As long as he could withstand the pressure of the tripod and move forward, not to mention taking control of the tripod. He seemed to be too full of himself. How could he learn the principles in the tripod in such a short time? Not even a warrior at the absolute completion could do that. Soon, another half a day passed. Little White's chi and energy were getting weaker. The warriors were panicking. It seemed that Little White would be finished in a day or two at most. Of course, if Little White's body was destroyed, it didn't mean that it would die completely. Its soul could come out. At that time, it would not be difficult for the king of the eastern region to reconstruct a powerful body for him. If that was the case, it would be difficult for Little White to reach the great perfection stage in this lifetime. On top of that, Whitey was a super strong race. The race of Whitey had a very terrifying innate mystic art. It was because of this powerful mystic art that the king of the eastern region could look down on everyone else. Since Whitey's body was destroyed, the super mystic ability was gone. Even if Whitey rebuilt its body, it wouldn't be very strong in this lifetime. Buzz, at this moment, a jade talisman in Lord Yu's hand lit up. He glanced at it and shouted, "The Realm King has sent a message." The group of experts became spirited. Since the king of the eastern region sent a message, there must be a way. The group of experts stared at Lord Yu, and one of them asked, "What did the king of the eastern region say?" "It's not that there isn't a way." Lord Yu sensed for a moment and said with a wry smile, "The Domain King said that he can destroy this pocket world and rush into the distorted space to rescue the young lord. But he doesn't have much confidence. At most, he has a 50% chance of rescuing the young lord. He said this is the last way. He can't see the situation and can't give any instructions. He wants us to retreat at the last moment, and then he will destroy the pocket world." The experts were silent. The king of the eastern region had no other way. If the pocket world was destroyed, the horrifying power of the distorted space would tear everything in it into pieces. The platform would collapse instantly, and the cauldron wouldn't be able to suppress Lu Xiaobai. He rushed in immediately and found Lu Xiaobai. If Lu Xiaobai wasn't dead, he could protect him. "Let's wait for another half a day." Lord Yu sighed and said, "Everyone, try your best. If we can't find a way after half a day, we will all retreat and let the Domain King destroy this pocket world." The experts were silent and began to think. Some of them began to use all kinds of methods, trying to solve this crisis. However, it was easier said than done to resolve this crisis. If it were easy, it would have been solved long ago. Half a day passed quickly. The experts had actually given up. They just wanted to wait for half a day and leave. Then, they would see if the Domain King could rescue Lu Xiaobai from the distorted space. "I can't understand it." Luli opened his eyes at this moment, feeling helpless. Time was too short, and this Tao was not something that could be comprehended just because one wanted to. If the Tao contained in the supreme divine weapon of a warrior at the absolute completion could be learned so easily, then it wouldn't be a warrior at the absolute completion. He still had a relic weapon of a warrior at the absolute completion in his interspatial ring, but he couldn't refine it either. No, Luli suddenly thought of something. He had a saber, a supreme divine weapon of a warrior at the absolute completion. This relic weapon contained the Tao of a warrior at the absolute completion. His relic weapon was of the same level as this cauldron. Did that mean he could use the relic weapon to fight against this cauldron? He didn't need to refine this relic weapon, nor did he need to fight against this cauldron. He just needed to be able to withstand some pressure. Let's see, Luli had an idea. Then, the ring on his hand glowed, and a black saber appeared in his hand. As soon as the saber appeared, it trembled slightly and let out a soft hum. Buzzing, Luli didn't do anything. The saber lit up automatically, emitting rays of light. A horrifying chi and energy came from the saber and spread to the surroundings. All of the powerful beings below were startled as their eyes lit up with a bright gleam, just like a bunch of hungry wolves that had just spotted a lamb. Supreme divine weapon, an expert exclaimed. His face was filled with envy and jealousy, and his eyes were filled with naked greed. Supreme divine weapons were different from imperial weapons and sacred weapons. Many emperors, saint emperors, and warriors who were infinitely close to the absolute completion would refine many relic weapons. However, warriors at the absolute completion usually only used one relic weapon. Many of them didn't even use relic weapons at all. Therefore, supreme divine weapons were very rare. None of the powerful warriors here, including Lord Yu, had a supreme divine weapon. It was evident how precious supreme divine weapons were. A warrior at the later stage of the Emperor realm had a supreme divine weapon. It was inevitable that they would be jealous. Look, he disappeared again. Another powerful warrior shouted in surprise. The powerful warriors looked away from the relic weapon and found that Luli had disappeared. Only a supreme divine weapon was left floating in the air. Then, amidst the stunned gazes of the powerful warriors, the relic weapon moved slowly toward the center of the platform. Luli's guess was right. When the supreme divine weapon met the supreme divine weapon, the traceless saber was activated automatically and withstood some of the pressure. Luli released the traceless way. Finally, he could move. Little White, here I come. Luli put on a gentle smile and murmured, I will get you out of here and take you home. Third Master. Chapter 34:17. Luli walked to the center of the platform. There was a powerful warrior who was very close to the completion of the relic realm here. He was not in a coma. He was lying on the ground in a very ungraceful way. He was squinting at the relic weapon that was approaching him. His eyes were filled with joy. However, Luli walked past him but did not save him. The saber floated to the center of the platform and eventually reached Little White. Luli squatted down, picked up Little White with one hand, and put it into his interspatial artifact. After Whitey disappeared, all the experts on the high platform felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Their faces were filled with joy. The master of the Eastern region could destroy the small world, and he had a 50% chance of saving Little White. That being said, there was still a 50% chance that Little White would die. After Luli put away Little White, he noticed the other powerful warriors. He walked over to them one by one and put them all into his interspatial artifact. Then, he slowly walked away from the platform. Buzzing, right at that moment, the tripod suddenly began to shake violently. It was glaring. Luli felt another strong force pressing down on him. He was exposed again. This time, he could not stand it any longer. He fell to the ground. Ow! The crowd was in an uproar. Why did the tripod suddenly go crazy? If Luli were to die, then his interspatial artifact might explode. Lu Xiaobai and the others would still be strangled to death by the twisting force of space. The relic weapon has a spirit. Is the tripod not convinced that I saved all the warriors? An idea flashed across Luli's mind, and he felt a headache coming on. He felt his bones were creaking because of the suppression. He was in the dragon transformation mode. He could not keep it up forever. Sooner or later, he would be weakened. At that time, once this state was removed, he would probably be suppressed to death. Calm down. Holding the relic weapon high, Luli closed his eyes and began to think. Soon, he had an idea. He could go into the realm of magic. As long as he was in the realm of magic, the tripod would not be able to contain him. Once it lost its target, the tripod might fly away. By then, Luli could be free. Okay, Luli was overjoyed. He wanted to go into the realm of Dharma. However, the tripod seemed to have sensed something. It began to tremble violently. The glow grew brighter, and the haze from the tripod grew thicker. Luli was enveloped in it. God damn it! Luli realized that he could not enter the magic realm. As the fog grew thicker, the gravitational force on him grew stronger. He was immediately enraged. This cauldron was truly lawless and out of control. It actually dared to challenge him. Mist? He looked at the surrounding mist and steeled his heart. He actually activated the Dharma realm's vortex to see if he could absorb the mist. Without the mist, how could this cauldron suppress him? It works. All of a sudden, Luli noticed that the haze was rushing into his body at a fast speed. The haze around him was weakened, and the pressure on Luli was relieved. Buzz, the cauldron glowed again. More haze fell down and surged toward Luli. This cauldron looked like a child who was full of battle spirit. If it was not satisfied, it would definitely suppress Luli. Ugh. The powerful warriors outside were dumbfounded. Luli had absorbed the mist. They did not know what the mist was. But if it could suppress Little White and the 8 warriors who were almost to the consummate realm, then it must be something powerful. How could Luli absorb it? The warriors on the ground were nervous as they watched Luli fight with the cauldron. Some warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm felt their palms were sweating. At this moment, they wished Luli could show his prowess and smash the cauldron. Let me absorb. Let me absorb. Let me absorb. Luli operated the vortex in a magic realm and absorbed as much mist as he could. Looking at the cauldron above his head, Luli put on a sarcastic smile. The cauldron was a supreme divine weapon. Over the years, it had absorbed a lot of energy, but could not be endless. Luli wanted to see how long the cauldron could last. The time for 1 incense stick to burn, 2 incense sticks to burn, an hour. Finally, the glow from the cauldron died down. The pressure on Luli was gone as well. Luli exhaled. He could stand the pressure and leave the high platform at any time. As long as he was alive, Little White and the others would be fine. Buzzing when Luli was about to stand up, something happened that shocked him and the other powerful warriors. The cauldron glowed again and began to spin quickly. Then it smashed down at a horrifying speed. Damn it, Luli cursed to himself. He thought to himself that the cauldron was not playing by the rules of the game. Luli could not defeat Luli, so he was acting like a rascal. He was going to grind Luli into pieces. Magic Realm. While controlling the magic realm to spin, Luli thought of something, trying to enter the magic realm. When the cauldron was about to hit him, Luli felt the pressure on him lessened. He dashed into the magic realm at once. Boom! A booming sound rang out and the high platform shook violently. At the same time, a dazzling light shone out from the high platform, as though half of a blazing sun had exploded. Terrifying air currents swept out, causing all the utmost powerful beings to be knocked back by several hundred zhong. Lord Yu and the others felt a white light flash before their eyes. When they resisted the shock wave and hurriedly went to investigate, a white light flashed before their eyes. When they hurried to check, they saw something strange. Luli had disappeared from the platform, and the cauldron was gone with him. Where is the fire demon? A powerful warrior yelled. He used psychic power to check again and again. His expressions were awful as he murmured, "Is he smashed into pieces? There is no blood." Another powerful warrior blinked in doubt and said, "Even if he is smashed into pieces, there should be some smell of blood." His supreme divine weapon disappeared, and so did his cauldron. What happened? Don't panic. Lord Yu took out a jade talisman of life. He breathed and said, "Young master is still alive, so the fire demon must be alive as well, as long as there are no problems." All the powerful warriors exhaled in relief. They were surprised. It was understandable that Lu Li had disappeared. After all, Lu Li's skill of hiding was incredible. He had disappeared twice just now. Where did the cauldron go? Why did the cauldron suddenly disappear when it crashed down just now? Did it go into the platform? Did the cauldron hide because it failed? They didn't dare to move as long as Lu Li didn't come out. They used psychic power to check around to find Lu Li. Lord Yu used a special communication method to inform the king of the eastern region, who was outside. This is strange. How come I feel that the cauldron is not in this small world anymore? A powerful warrior murmured with uncertainty. The cauldron contained the Tao of a warrior at the complete completion and had a unique qi and energy. Now, he felt the qi and energy were gone. T. What the hell? How can this be? Almost at the same time, someone shouted from Lu Li's realm of Dharma. Lu Li was lying in the realm of Dharma. Above his head, there was a cauldron spinning. There was still mist coming down from the cauldron, covering Lu Li up and immobilizing him. The cauldron followed Lu Li into the realm of Dharma. P.S. Let's get down to business. The Eternal Realm will finish its book this year. It had been 2 years. Towards the end, the old demon was exhausted. He was sick all over. His back was in pain. He worked through the night every day, and his mental state was poor. Recently, the number of subscriptions was declining. The old demon was running out of food. He didn't have any motivation to write anymore. Many times, he wanted to finish the book unfinished. Therefore, please download the official QQ reading version and pay for it. It didn't cost him much to read the book every month. This would give the old demon some motivation to continue writing. Please, it's daybreak again. Good morning, everyone. The old demon is going to bed. Third Master. Chapter 34:18. A supreme weapon, a tripod that could immobilize 10 warriors that were infinitely close to the consummate realm and almost killed them. Lu Li was both shocked and confused to be in Lu Li's Dharma realm all of a sudden. A moment later, he was overjoyed. He didn't believe that the tripod could suppress him in the Dharma realm. Therefore, he had accidentally acquired another supreme weapon. It seemed that the Tao in the tripod was not easy to learn. But where else could the tripod go in the Dharma realm? It would be sooner or later. Get out! He vanished from the Dharma realm. The tripod could no longer locate him. The glow from the tripod dimmed down, and the mist was taken back as well. The tripod floated above the Dharma realm. Ha ha! Standing on the dais, Lu Li laughed to himself. He was feeling great. The powerful warriors outside were overjoyed to see Lu Li coming out. Lord Yu asked in a hurry, "Fire demon, how is it going?" Whoosh! Lu Li didn't answer. He landed lightly. His interspatial artifact glowed as he let out Little White and the others. Young Master. A group of powerful warriors went over and began to treat Lu Xiaobai and the others. Lu Li saw a powerful warrior put some elixirs that were at least tens of thousands of years old into Little White's mouth. What a spendthrift. Elixirs should be consumed so that they would not be wasted. How wasteful would it be to stuff elixirs that were tens of thousands of years old into Little White's mouth? But this was not his elixir. The powerful warriors had plenty of elixirs, so Lu Li didn't bother to explain. As for the other powerful warriors, some were badly injured and some were not. Almost all of them had woken up. As a matter of fact, they had begun to treat their wounds in the interspatial artifact. Little White had taken some elixirs and pellets as well. His wounds were recovering quickly. I will show young Master out now. Sorry for the long wait. Lord, you put Little White into the interspatial artifact. Little White was recovering. In a day or two, Little White will be able to jump around. It was no longer a hindrance. With that said, Lord Yu rushed down with more than a dozen powerful warriors. He didn't say anything to Lu Li, not even to thank him. Lu Li curled his lips, but didn't mind it too much. The King of the East didn't want Little White to mix with the previous chickens. He could understand his feelings. Lord, you must have rushed out with Little White to report to the King of the Eastern region and see what his attitude would be. Lu Li didn't care. If the King of the Eastern region didn't want Little White to be friends with him, then he would leave quietly and go directly to the Southern region to find Luan Shi and Mo Qianqian at the Palace of Immortals Inquiries. He wasn't a person who would try to curry favor with someone powerful. He wouldn't try to curry favor with Little White just because her father was the king of the Eastern region. He came to the Immortal Realm mainly to determine if Lu Xiaobai was Little White, and then to determine if Little White was doing well. It was clear that Whitey was living a very comfortable life. His future development would be boundless, and he might even become a peak-level existence in the Immortal Realm. For this, he was very happy. He was truly happy for Little White. Nothing else mattered. Of course, if Xiao Bai could reunite with him, he would naturally be happier. After all, in his heart, Xiao Bai was no different from his younger brother. While some of the utmost powerful beings had left, there were still some who stayed behind. There were also some who were severely injured and required treatment. A powerful warrior walked over and thanked Lu Li on behalf of Lu Xiaobai and the injured warriors. He also asked Lu Li to wait for a while. When these powerful warriors recovered, all of them would leave and they would solemnly reward Lu Li. Lu Li didn't care about this. He just sat on the side, not worried that these powerful warriors would do anything to him. Based on Little White's attitude towards him and the fact that he saved Little White's life, if these powerful warriors dared to do anything to him, the king of the Eastern region would definitely wipe out their entire families. Some of these powerful warriors coveted Lu Li's treasure, and some were curious about where the tripod went. Lu Li sat on the side in meditation, so they didn't ask too many questions. They had mocked and ridiculed Lu Li before, so now they were too embarrassed to take the initiative to talk to him. Soon, a day and a half had passed. The powerful warriors recovered quickly. They all consumed top-level pellets, and their injuries were more than half healed. They all stood up and walked towards the outside. Most of the dangers at the checkpoint had been eliminated, so it was a smooth trip for them. In half a day, all the powerful warriors had left the palace. More than half of the warriors outside had left, but there were still some warriors guarding here. There were several powerful warriors outside. As soon as they saw Lu Li, one of them went to greet him. He bowed to Lu Li with respect and said, "Lord Fire Demon, I am Sangyu. King of Realm has asked me to welcome you here. He said that you have gone out, and he will take you to the Star Brilliant City nearby. King of Realm has already taken young master and the others to the Star Brilliant City." "Okay." Lu Li smiled. He waved his hand and said, "Show me the way." Buzzing, Sangyu took out a battleship, a very advanced one. Sangyu took Lu Li on board, and the other powerful warriors followed him. The battleship glowed and then flew to the south. Lu Li was invited to the VIP cabin. Sangyu was very polite. Lu Li was treated with courtesy, and Sangyu would not go against a smiling face. So, they chatted for a while. This place was not far from the Star Brilliant City. In less than half a day, a huge city appeared. This was one of the major cities at the northern eastern region, similar to the Cloud King City. It was one of the major cities to defend against the northern region. At the Star Brilliant City, Sangyu took Lu Li to live in a manor. It was a top-level manor with splendid furnishings. There were all kinds of things that Lu Li had seen and not seen before. There were more than 100 maids just to serve Lu Li alone. Sangyu chatted with Lu Li for a while politely. Then, he told Lu Li to settle down and to tell the steward if he needed anything. Sangyu didn't say when the king of the eastern region would meet him. He left Lu Li alone. Lu Li was not in a hurry. He didn't even use psychic power. He just stayed here in peace. He ate the best fruits, drank the best tea, and cultivated the traceless Tao in his sleep. Soon, 5 days had passed. None of the most powerful warriors came. Little White didn't come either. Lu Li seemed to have been forgotten. Lu Li, on the other hand, sensed more and more powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm were coming and leaving. But no one came to Lu Li's place. Lu Li acted as if nothing had happened. Inside, he was disappointed. He thought about it and decided to wait for another 10 days. If Little White didn't come by, then he would leave. If the king of the eastern region didn't allow Little White to be friends with Lu Li, then Little White's memory in the tomb might be sealed. Lu Li didn't want to stay here shamelessly. He didn't lack food, clothes, elixirs for cultivation, or treasures. He didn't have any enemies in the immortal region. He wouldn't benefit much from being close to the king of the eastern region. Why would he stay here? After another 8 days, Luli suddenly heard some noise outside. He frowned and checked with psychic power. What he saw was a young man in embroidered clothes walking in like a gust of wind. Several maids were chasing after him, trying to stop him. Luli's psychic power locked onto the young man in embroidered clothes. He was shocked. He put down the teacup, stood up, and stared at the door. Soon, the young man in embroidered clothes was standing at the door. When he saw Luli, his eyes lit up. His face was flushed, and his body was trembling. The two stared at each other for 5 breaths. Then, the young man in embroidered clothes said with a choked voice, "Boss, is that you?" "I am. Little White." Luli curled his lips and revealed a bright smile. He nodded slightly and said, "Little White, I finally found you." Chapter 34:19. Whoosh! Little White rushed to Luli and hugged him tightly. It said in a sobbing tone, "Big brother, big brother, big brother." Little White didn't know what to say. It just hugged Luli and kept growling, as if it was venting its emotions. Luli felt like crying. He held Little White in his arms. He felt this trip to the immortal region was worth it, even though they had gone through so many dangers. After the time for more than 10 breaths, they finally separated. Luli looked at Little White carefully and found that it looked exactly like a human. It looked like a handsome young master. Furthermore, he vaguely resembled him when he was young, but he was more handsome and had a lively temperament. He was like an energetic, eccentric, and carefree young master. Good. Luli grinned and said, "I've been wondering what Little White would be like after it transforms. Now, it is just like what I imagined. Very handsome. Ha ha ha. Ha ha." Little White smiled proudly and said, "Of course. Big brother, you are so handsome. As your follower, I cannot be worse than you. Big brother, I will be honest with you. Many young ladies of the eastern region have tried to hit on me, but I don't like them. They're all transformed from some beasts. No matter how beautiful they look now, they're still beasts when they transform back. This young master is so handsome and suave. How could I take a fancy to those demons?" Luli was surprised and then smiled. Little White was an immortal beast itself. How could it look down on other immortal beasts? Even though Luli had never talked to Little White after it transformed, he felt it was familiar and close to Little White, even though he had never talked to it before. This was Little White, just like Little White in Luli's mind. Big brother, big brother. Little White pulled Luli to sit down and then said with guilt, "My father seal my memory. I have forgotten the past, so I have never gone to see you. Big brother, you don't blame me, do you?" "I see." Luli smiled. He patted Little White's head out of instinct, just like he did when he touched Little White's body. And Little White actually closed its eyes subconsciously, looking very comfortable. Luli burst into laughter. Little White had transformed and was an adult now. To touch it as if it was a child was not respectful enough. He said, "It's not your fault, boss." "Boss, why would I blame you? Today, you and I are able to meet each other. I feel that it is a gift from the heavens. I'm very gratified that you still recognize me as your boss." "How could I not recognize you, boss?" Lil White jumped up and said, "Boss, you are my master. Without you, Lil White would have died long ago." "Don't speak nonsense." Luli glared at him and said, "In my heart, you have always been my brother." "What master? If you mention it again, I'll be angry." Good little brother. Boss, you're so good to me." Little White said with a grin. Then it looked at Luli carefully and asked with confusion, "Boss, you are at the Emperor realm. I heard that you are a famous fire demon. It said that he killed a powerhouse who was infinitely close to the great perfection." "Yes, I kill one." Luli nodded and said, "I have the chance to kill warriors that are infinitely close to the consummate realm. I am at the later stage of the Emperor realm, and I have other means." "Impressive. No wonder you're my boss." Little White gave Luli a thumbs up and said with pride, "I know my boss is something. When we parted, you were still in the divinity, right? You came to the immortal region, and you have improved so fast. I admire you." What is there to admire? Luli said with a gentle smile. Little White is the impressive one. You're infinitely close to the consummate realm. You are much more powerful than you, boss. That is different. Little White was not arrogant. Instead, he said seriously, I am a super immortal beast because of my father. I was sealed, so my progress was slow. After my father brought me back, I was given all kinds of treasures. Of course, I have been growing fast. Boss, you're different. You don't have anyone to help you. You are much more powerful than I am. Let's not talk about this. Luli waved his hand and asked, when you went missing in the divinity, was it the Lord of the East who brought you back? I have been looking for you for years. Well, you were sealed? How did you end up in the Heaven Reverse universe? Did your father send you down to the mortal world to experience life? No. Little White shook his head. He poured out some source energy to activate the runes in the hall. Then he said, it was not my father, but my mother. My mother was being hunted down. A big family wanted to take my mother hostage to threaten my father. She had no choice but to escape to the third plane. Because of her serious injuries, she had to give birth early. I was less than a month old, so I was born weak. My mother was afraid that something might happen to me with her, so she threw me into a mortal world. She sealed my source of energy for fear that I would be exposed. My father will find me sooner or later. I will be fine as long as I am not exposed. I see. Luli understood. He asked with a frown, what about your mother? She is dead. Little White was in low spirits. He sighed. She was already injured. She was even more weakened after giving birth to me. She was killed by her enemies. But my father avenged her. Several big families were wiped out by my father. None of them escaped. Alas, Luli sighed. He felt like they were in the same boat. He said, Little White, we really are brothers. My mother died when I was born as well. Come to think of it, it's fate. Otherwise, how could we have met? That is true. Xiaobai sighed and said, maybe this is fate. God has already decided it. Let's not talk about this. Soon, Little White recovered from his sadness. His eyes were glowing. Boss, where are my sisters-in-law? Where are they? What happened to you in the divinity? How did you come to the immortal region? It is a long story. Luli gave it a brief account of what happened later. He talked about fighting against demons in the divinity, stirring up a storm in the second heaven, the third heaven, the abyss of demons, the desolation star region, the chaos star region, and finally the immortal region. Luli finished after more than 2 hours. Little White had been listening attentively the whole time. When Little White heard that Luli was in danger, he would be nervous. But when he learned that Luli had killed his enemies, he was delighted. Boss, you are the boss. Little White gave Luli a thumbs up and said with admiration, Boss, you are amazing. You came from a mortal world, looked down upon the divinity, dominated the second heaven, reached the third heaven, stirred up chaos in the desolation star region, and established a foothold in the chaos star region. If it were me, I would have lost 10 lives. Well, boss, let's go. With that said, Little White was about to drag Luli out. Luli was surprised. He asked, where are we going? To the chaos star region. Little White said, bring my wife and the Lu family here. Bring them all to the city of Mystic Armor. From now on, the city of Mystic Armor will be your home. If anyone dares to mess with you, I will lead an army and kill them all. Chapter 34:20. Luli was touched by Little White's aggressiveness. But he stopped, waved his hand, and said, don't rush. Sit down first. Little White was obedient to Luli. Luli sat down and sipped his tea. After a while, he said, the Lu family and your master's wife are living well in the chaotic star regions. They won't come to the celestial region for the time being. The immortal domain is too chaotic and too powerful. It's not suitable for the Lu clan to develop. Luli said this to take care of Little White's pride. He never intended to rely on the King of the East. Given his relationship with Little White, it wouldn't be a big deal for him to bring the Lu family to the Mystic Armor City, and Little White would provide many resources for the Lu family to develop. But Luli didn't like to depend on others' charity. The King of the East sealed Little White's soul, which was equivalent to looking down on Luli. He saved Little White this time, but the king of the eastern region didn't even see him, let alone thank him. This aroused the pride in Lu Li's heart. Naturally, he didn't want to live under the king of the eastern region. The Lu family was weak, extremely weak. For a clan from the mortal world, it would be considered good if they could survive in the god world. However, because of Lu Li, he had to spoil things time and time again. The warriors of the Lu family were weak, and the Lu family's foundation was weak. They had not adapted to the divinity yet. Lu Li took them to the second heaven and then to the third heaven. In the end, they settled in the chaotic star region. The celestial realm was 100 times more dangerous than the heavenly chaotic starfield. Why would the Lu family come here? This place was filled with sane emperors. Were the Lu clan's cultivators here to guard the door? Many of the warriors in the Lu clan were not very talented. Even if they were given more resources, they would not be able to improve much in this lifetime. The Lu family was doing well in the Grim Reaper. Most importantly, the Grim Reaper's environment allowed the Lu family to improve. Most of the warriors in the Lu Alliance had become Grim Reapers. As long as they were able to survive, their battle prowess would increase rapidly. Right now, the Lu clan had sufficient resources, and they couldn't even finish using them. So, why did they come to the Immortal region? It was impossible for a big family to grow by relying on 1 or 2 generations. The bloodline of the Lu Union's descendants was not high. The Lu Alliance needed to continuously form marriages, produce good genes, and nurture them with large amounts of resources. After a few generations, the Lu Alliance would be able to produce a large number of experts. At that time, the Lu Alliance could be considered to have barely risen. The disciples of the Lu Alliance probably enjoyed staying in the Grim Reaper. Even if they were asked to come, they wouldn't be willing. Therefore, Lu Li refused Little White without hesitation. Little White, on the other hand, was getting impatient. If Lu Ming was not coming, then Lu Li would not stay here for long. Lu Li would have to go back to the Lu family. In that case, Little White would have to part with Lu Li again. He quickly said, "Boss, the celestial realm is chaotic, but the city of mystic armor is not. It is good that the celestial realm is strong. With pressure comes motivation. You don't have to worry about the Lu family's development. The entire eastern region can be considered as my family with unlimited resources. I'll give you however much you want. In the eastern region, no one dares to bully the Lu family. Whoever dares to bully a disciple of the Lu family, I will chop him down." Ha ha ha. Lu Li laughed. He was touched. Little White really regarded him as his own big brother. It was worthwhile for him to come to the celestial realm to find him. Lu Li smiled and said, "Little White, there are many things you don't know yet. The Lu family is too weak. Coming here will only hurt them. Don't worry. There is still time. Your boss is only more than 1,000 years old. Don't worry. When the time is right, I will bring them here. Don't mention this." Okay. Seeing that Lu Li had made up his mind, Lu Xiaobai didn't say anything else. He rolled his eyes and said, "Boss, if you have nothing to do, stay in the city of mystic armor and play with me. I need to go to the northern region. If I don't get back at them, I am not Lu Xiaobai." "Go to the northern region?" Lu Li frowned. Remembering the rumor, he asked, "You're going to make trouble for B.O.? I'm going to kill him." Lu Xiaobai said with a murderous look, "I was almost killed by him. If it weren't for you, I would have a 50% chance of dying this time. My father only had a 50% chance of saving me. B.O. broke the rules, so I'm going to the northern region to kill him." Lu Li pursed his lips and asked after a moment of silence, "Your father is going with you?" "No." Lu Xiaobai clenched his fists and said, "I have lost face, and I will get it back in person. B.O. broke the rules this time, and my father has sent word. Therefore, the warriors at the northern region at the complete realm will not make trouble for me. I will bring a group of powerful warriors that are close to the complete realm. I swear I will not come back until I kill him." Lu Li was surprised and asked, "Your father agrees?" "Yes." Lu Xiaobai nodded and said, "My father agrees. He said that the son of the king of the eastern region must have such drive. Back in the days, he carried his saber and ran amok in the immortal region. Half of the immortal region was bathed in blood. We, the heaven-swallowing beast race, cannot be looked down upon by other races. We must get back at them. Heaven-swallowing beast? This was the first time Lee had heard of it. He didn't ask more. He just said with a smile, "That is an impressive name." Since your father is okay with it, then I won't say more. Boss, will you go to the northern region with me? Lu Xiaobai asked with anticipation. I missed the time when we fought side by side. Hee, don't worry, boss. This time, the northern region is in the wrong, so there aren't too many powerhouses helping Bio. The king of a northern region has already spoken to Dad. He won't give Bio any support, but whether or not I can kill Bio will depend on my ability. Luli said nothing. Of course, he wanted to go with Little White to the northern region. After all, it was dangerous to go deep into the enemy's territory. With him around, if something went wrong, at least he could run away with Little White, right? It was just that he had been away for a long time. He didn't know how Mo Chanqian, Wan Shi, Yu Yang, and the others were doing. He was worried. He didn't have much feelings for Mo Chanqian and Wan Shi, but they were his women. He couldn't leave them alone. Looking at Little White's expectant eyes, Luli didn't have the heart to turn him down. After some thoughts, he said, I can go with you, but you have to do something for me. I have some friends of the southern region. Can you arrange for them to come over? Well, will it be difficult? Friends? Little White was surprised and asked, Do I know them? No. Luli shook his head and said, I made friends in the Chaotic Star region. 2 of them are my women. Ha ha ha. Little White laughed and said, Big brother, you are still as promiscuous as before. You have so many lovers. This is not a big deal. I will make the arrangements, and I will bring them over safely. Never mind. I will teleport you over. We will finish your business first, and then we will go to the northern region so that you don't have to worry. What do you think? Teleport? Luli was surprised. Mo Qianqian and Luan, she lived in a small city at the southernmost part of the southern region. How could they teleport over such a long distance? What was more, teleporting to the eastern region didn't cost celestial stones. Teleporting to the southern region would cost celestial stones. Little White wouldn't go alone. How many celestial stones would it cost to teleport with a group of powerful warriors? What was more, the southern region and the eastern region were hostile to each other. Would Little White be okay if he went like this? Luli voiced out his concerns. Little White said unhappily, What celestial stones? I am doing them a favor by going to the southern region. How dare they take my celestial stones? We can teleport directly from the East King City to the South King City and then to the East Spirit City. It won't take long to go there and back. As for safety, the king of the southern region will not dare to touch me, even if he has 100 guts. Back in the days, the king of the southern region was almost killed by my father. Not only will he not touch me, but he will also send powerful warriors to protect me. Otherwise, if something happens to me, it is so cool to have a powerful father. Luli was speechless. It took him several years to get to the eastern region from the southern region. He had gone through so many hardships and narrowly escaped death. Why did it feel like he was going on a sightseeing tour when Lu Xiaobai went back with him? P.S. Thank you for the support of many book fans. Today, many people left comments, many people tipped, and many people subscribed. The old monster was touched and was moved to tears. No matter how hard and tired it was, the old monster would finish writing the Eternal World and do a good job. Remember to come to QQ to support the old monster. This is the starting site. As long as you pay to read here, the old monster could get the royalties. Bow to everyone. Chapter 34:21. The king of the eastern region left without seeing Luli. There was a teleportation altar at the Starlight City that could teleport to the East King City. Luli was expressionless when he heard the news, but he was still a bit upset. He felt he was being looked down upon. Of course, he could understand. It was like a king whose son was left in the slums and became friends with a beggar. After the king found his son, he sealed his son's memory so that he would forget the time he spent with the beggar. Later on, the beggar grew up and became capable. He came to the capital and saved the king's son's life. If the king was a kind king or a king who cared about his reputation, he would have summoned the beggar and rewarded him handsomely. But not the king of the eastern region. His personality was tyrannical, cold, and extremely arrogant. Maybe in his mind, even if Lu Li was infinitely close to the level of a complete warrior, he would still be a bug. He had killed countless warriors at the complete level. He really didn't think much of Lu Li. But he did give Lu Li some top-level elixirs and treasures, and a token. On the token were the words King of the Eastern Region. With this token, Lu Li could do whatever he wanted in the Eastern Region. Big brother, I apologize on behalf of my dad. The gift was brought by Little White. He said pitifully, Dad is cold and arrogant. He said he had something urgent to deal with. Little White, you don't have to do this. Lu Li smiled and waved his hand. You are you, and he is him. It doesn't matter. We are brothers, right? The king of the Eastern Region was willing to release Little White's seal and let Little White and Lu Li reunite. This was a compromise. Lu Li understood this. A king had his own pride. Maybe when he saw Lu Li, he would be reminded of his deceased wife and feel uncomfortable. It didn't matter if he saw Lu Li or not. He didn't move the Lu family to the immortal region because he didn't want to live under someone else's roof. He was also a proud man. The king of the Eastern Region's attitude made him even more determined. When are we going to the Southern Region? Lu Li changed the subject. Little White quickly said, We will go back to the East King City tomorrow. I will make some arrangements. We can depart in 2 or 3 days and teleport directly to the South King City. All right. Lu Li secretly made up his mind. After picking up Mo Chanqian, Wan Shi, Yu Yang, and the others, he would follow Little White to the northern region, then leave the eastern region and return to the chaotic starfield. The next day, Lu Li left the Star Brilliant City with Little White. When they left, Little White brought with it dozens of warriors that were close to the absolute completion of the Star Brilliance realm. Lord Yu followed them closely. Lord Yu's attitude towards Lu Li was much better. Perhaps it was because the king of the Eastern Region had tacitly allowed Lu Li to be friends with Little White. Naturally, Lord Yu didn't dare to be rude to Lu Li anymore. Little White was its young master, and Lu Li was its friend. To be rude to Lu Li would be disrespectful to Little White. Little White probably didn't know about Lu Li's trip to the city of mystic armor. It even introduced the powerful warriors to Lu Li with enthusiasm. Those powerful warriors were the subordinates of the king of the East region. Most of them were immortal beasts. When Little White said that Lu Li was its boss, those powerful warriors treated Lu Li with respect. They must have felt awkward when they addressed Lu Li as Lord Lu. The group of powerful warriors teleported to the East King City. Lu Li also got to see the largest city in the Eastern region. The scale and prosperity of the city refreshed Lu Li's knowledge. Lu Li was secretly surprised by Lu Xiaobai's status in the city and the enthusiasm of countless people for Lu Xiaobai. But it was understandable. The existence of the king of the East region kept the Eastern region free from war for more than a decade. Only the Eastern region could attack other regions. No other region dared to attack the Eastern region. Even though the Eastern region was in chaos, it was internal strife. It had something to do with the large number of immortal beasts in the Eastern region. Immortal beasts were different from humans and other races. They didn't have a high level of civilization. They worshipped strength and respected the strong. They liked to fight for territory and treasures. The king of the East region didn't care. As long as it didn't violate his iron rule, he could do whatever he wanted. Little White's character was relatively good. It wasn't as violent as the king of the East region. It was a reasonable master. This was probably because of Lu Li's influence. Little White was active and had no sense of hierarchy. It often played around in the city. It didn't put on any airs and could drink with regular warriors. Naturally, the people in the city liked and respected this kind and powerful young master from the bottom of their hearts. Lu Li moved into Little White's residence. Even though Little White had a city of mystic armor, Little White's residence was quite grand as well. Lu Li checked the place with psychic power and was shocked by what he saw. There were many trees in the backyard of Little White's residence. The trees were filled with top-level fruits. It seemed that the fruits were for Little White to quench its thirst. There was a spring in the backyard and a lake filled with top-level liquid. Even the castle Little White was living and was made of special materials. Luli felt his mind would be at peace when he entered the castle. The xianxi in heaven and earth was so dense. This is what a top family should be like. Luli curled his lips. He was happy for Little White. He understood why Little White's realm was improving so fast. Little White was a beast in nature. When it reached adulthood, it would be very powerful. It had been brought back for 1,000 years, eating top-level fruits and drinking top-level liquid every day. Even the house it lived in could help it grow. How could it not be fast? Boss, you can live here. You can play and eat as much as you want. You can even tear down the mansion. Little White said with a grin. He had maids bring over dozens of plates of fruits. Pointing to the pretty maids, Little White said, "They are of a special race. It is said that they can cultivate with you, but I don't like them." Boss, you can play with whatever you like. Luli rolled his eyes. He waved his hand and said, Okay. You don't have to show off. Go and make the arrangements. Go to the southern region as soon as possible. I am worried that something might happen to them. Yes. Little White did a backflip and flew out. It said with a grin, Boss, it will take a few days to activate the teleportation altar. Wait for me. It will be done soon. I will go now. Ha. Luli could not help but smile, seeing that Little White was as nimble as a monkey. Little White had been mischievous since it was little. Now, it was like a child that would never grow up. But it was a good character. Little White was simple and happy. It did not have to carry a lot of pressure. Luli was not old, but he felt he was old. To the north of the East King City, there was an even more magnificent manor. In the manor, there was a mountain. The mountain was covered up by a special formation. Civilians in the city could not see it. At the peak of the mountain, there was no castle or palace. There was only a cave. Lord Yu hurried into the cave. He went into a huge cave in the innermost part. At the bottom of the cave was boiling magma, and there was a blurry figure sitting cross-legged on the magma. Lord Yu dropped to one knee to the blurry figure and said, Master, Little White is going to activate the teleportation altar to the South King City. He is going to the southern region. Let him be. The blurry figure said coldly. As long as he doesn't go to the Koan realm, the origin realm, and the several forbidden areas, he can do whatever he wants. Spread the word that I do not have more than a few thousand years to live. If anyone dares to hurt Little White, I will send his entire family to the 9 hells with me. Chapter 34:22. The East King City was far away from the South King City. It would take a long time, even if they used the super teleportation formation. Luli felt like he had traveled for at least 7 or 8 days before he felt his feet touching the ground. Although Luli was only at the late stage of the Emperor realm, his soul was already comparable to that of Saint Emperor. Therefore, the teleportation didn't make him dizzy. Little White and his 5 subordinates were all experts who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm. Naturally, there was no problem. Lord Yu came along. He was very famous in the eastern region, even in the entire immortal region. Because he had always been a subordinate of the king of the eastern region, he represented the king of the eastern region. Many big shots knew him. The teleportation formation was not in the plaza, but in a castle. At the moment, there was a group of warriors standing in the castle, led by a young lady in a red dress. The young lady was very beautiful. Her appearance was similar to a human's, and there was a red phoenix mark between her eyebrows. She smiled sweetly and exuded charm from her bones. Behind the young lady were 4 experts who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm. When they saw several figures appearing in the teleportation formation, they all looked towards the center and quickly locked onto the handsome and quick-witted Lu Xiaobai. Lu Xiaobai was very famous in the immortal region. Everyone knew that the king of the eastern region had an only son who was very strong and had a very active and aggressive personality. Lu Xiaobai's photo and information had long been in the hands of the higher-ups of the major clans. He was listed by many of the major clans as someone who absolutely could not be provoked. Especially not long ago, a piece of news came out from the East King Mansion, which made the entire immortal region pay more attention to Lu Xiaobai. The king of the Eastern region had said that whoever dared to hurt his son, he would dare to wipe out their entire clan. The king of the Eastern region's tyranny was famous throughout the immortal region. The prestige of the king of the Eastern region was accumulated by the countless corpses of experts. The king of the Eastern region was a late bloomer. Perhaps because he had been seriously injured in his early years, he was already very old when he reached the Great Perfection Realm. But after reaching the Great Perfection Realm, the battle power of the heaven-swallowing beast became prominent. The king of the Eastern region also began the road of hegemony. With his own strength, he suppressed the entire Eastern region and massacred countless major clans. More than half of the immortal region had traces of his conquest to this day. When many warriors in the immortal region talked about the things that the king of the Eastern region had done, they would feel chills all over, and fear from the bottom of their hearts filled their bodies. He had a son at an old age. The king of the Eastern region didn't have much longer to live, so not to mention the big clans that had no enmity with the king of the Eastern region. Even the big clans that had enmity with the king of the Eastern region didn't dare to act recklessly. Otherwise, the king of the Eastern region would sacrifice his life to annihilate this entire clan. No cultivator would be tired of living. It was just a few thousand years. If he wanted to kill Xiao Bai, he would just have to wait another few thousand years. There was no need to anger the king of the Eastern region, so Little White was now safe in the entire immortal region. The king of the Eastern region was also very relieved to let him come to the Southern region. The young lady in the red dress smiled, and her eyes were like autumn water. She bowed gracefully and said, "Yu greets young Master Xiao Bai, greets the lords." "Greetings, young Master Xiao Bai." The four experts behind him, who were infinitely close to the Paragon level, also saluted. They only saluted Whitey to express their respect for the king of the Eastern region. Since they were of the same rank, they naturally wouldn't bow to Lord Yu. Lord Yu's lips moved slightly, and he sent a message to Lu Xiaobai. Lu Xiaobai casually walked out, nodded slightly, and said, "Lady Yu is too polite. Everyone, don't be so polite." Yu faintly smiled, nodded slightly to Lu Li and Lord Yu, and then said, "Welcome young Master Xiao Bai and everyone to the Southern King City as guests." Yu represents the Yu family to warmly welcome everyone. If there is anything you need, you can tell Yu. The banquet has been prepared, and I hope young Master Xiao Bai and everyone will come. Lu Xiaobai slightly frowned. The Eastern region and the Southern region had a war in the past, and they were considered enemies. Even though they reconciled later, the Yu family definitely didn't like him. The first young master and the first young lady of the Yu family didn't come out, so why did they send an ordinary young lady? The Yu family didn't like him, and he naturally didn't want to give them face. He waved his hand and said, "Forget about the banquet. We're not here to play. We are here for business. Lady Yu, please make the arrangements. We want to go to the Eastern Spirit City." Eastern Spirit City? Yu wasn't unhappy that Lu Xiaobai didn't give her face. Instead, she asked with a frown, "Young Master Xiao Bai, can I ask why we're going to the Eastern Spirit City?" Madame Wong over there is Yuji's great aunt. If there's anything, Yuji can ask them for help. Yuji was worried that Little White would make trouble at the Eastern Spirit City. The Guis at the Eastern Spirit City had always been the staunch supporters of the Yu family. They had been connected by marriage for many generations, and their relationship was very good. Yuji's words made it clear that she hoped Lu Xiaobai wouldn't make trouble at the Eastern Spirit City. Little White waved his hand impatiently and said, "Nothing. Go and pick up some people. After that, we will go back to the Eastern region." Yuji was a bit relieved. She said with a smile, "Young Master Xiaobai, please come with me. Let's have some tea and rest for a while. The teleportation altar will be ready soon. Let's go, boss." Little White waved to Lu Li and walked out together with him. Lord Yu and the others followed them. Yuji and the other powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm blinked and looked at each other in confusion. They had thought that Lu Li was just a nobody. After all, he was only an Emperor Realm warrior. They didn't expect that Lu Xiaobai would call him boss. Judging by his tone, he sounded respectful. Humans? Yu and the others were even more confused. Most of the powerful warriors of the eastern region were immortal beasts. They had never heard of a human family. Where did this human of the Emperor Realm come from? Yu led Lu Xiaobai and the others to an attic. Yu arranged for warriors to activate the teleportation altar. Actually, it didn't take long to prepare. Yu just wanted to be the host so that the eastern region wouldn't say that the Yu family was lacking in manners. Yu was the kind of girl who knew how to socialize and was good at handling matters. It was a pity that Lu Xiaobai didn't have a good impression of her, so he didn't pay much attention to her. Wardy had to come out and exchange greetings. Yu even tried to talk to Lu Li, trying to get some information about him. Lu Li just replied. Since Little White didn't like the Yu family, he didn't want to be friends with Yu. He knew one thing clearly. The world was cruel. If you didn't have powerful abilities and status, powerful warriors wouldn't care about you. He was here today because of Little White. Therefore, it was pointless for him to be friends with Yu. Without Little White, Yu wouldn't even look at him. 2 hours later, a servant came to report that everything was ready. Yu once again invited Little White to a banquet. Some top young masters and young ladies of the Yu family would be there to welcome Little White as well. Never mind. I am in a hurry. Next time, Little White was straightforward, and he didn't want to socialize. Yu forced a smile and said, "Okay, I will go to the Eastern Spirit City with you. I am familiar with the people there, so I can help if you need anything." Little White turned to Lu Li, who said with a smile, "Thank you, Lady Yu." A group of powerful warriors walked out. Yu only brought a powerful warrior who was close to the consummate realm. The Eastern Spirit City was full of powerful warriors. Also, Yu didn't believe that there was nothing she couldn't do at the southern region. Stepping into the teleportation formation, Lu Li sighed. He didn't expect that he would be able to come back so soon. He had been prepared to die on the way without coming back. I wonder how Mo Qianqian, Wan Shi, Yu Yang, and the others are doing. I hope nothing bad happens to them. Lu Li murmured. The teleportation altar glowed, and Lu Li and the others disappeared into it. Chapter 34-23. Mo Qianqian and the others were having a hard time. Not only them, the entire Palace of Immortals Inquires was having a hard time. The Palace of Immortals Inquires was no longer in the Milky Way City. There used to be 7,000 or 8,000 warriors in the Palace of Immortals Inquires, but now there were less than 1,000. They were hiding in a cave in a huge mountain at the southwest of the southern region. The cave was spacious, but with nearly 1,000 warriors squeezed together, it was a bit depressing. All the warriors were in a state of panic, as if they were on tenterhooks. Some of the warriors had blood on them, and some had broken limbs. They were badly injured. They had been on the run for a long time. More than half of the 8,000 warriors were killed, and only 3,000 or 4,000 were left. Now, there were only about 1,000 left because the rest of the warriors had run away. Mo Qianqian and the others didn't run because they knew that they would be caught up no matter where they went. The main target of the enemy was them, not the other warriors of the Palace of Immortals Inquires. As a matter of fact, they realized that they were destined to be hunted down. Even if they weren't hunted down this time, they would be in trouble sooner or later. A man's wealth was his own ruin. The formation created by Lu Li was the proof. After Lu Li left, the Palace of Immortals Inquires gained a lot of benefits and began to develop rapidly. Countless warriors sought refuge with them. If they continued to develop, the Palace of Immortals Inquires would grow stronger and eventually replace the Milky Way Society. That was the problem. How could they allow others to sleep on their own beds? The Milky Way Society knew how powerful the formation was. If the Palace of Immortals Inquires was allowed to develop, the Milky Way Society would be suppressed sooner or later. The Palace of Immortals Inquires didn't have many powerful warriors that were close to the perfect realm. However, the Palace of Immortals Inquires could rope in other powerful warriors or even form an alliance with other forces. Therefore, After Luli left, the Milky Way Society began to suppress the palace of Immortals and Choirs. But after all, the war had just ended. It was not a good idea to give up after all the birds were gone. Therefore, the Milky Way Society didn't make it too obvious. They just hinted the other forces to suppress the palace of Immortals and Choirs. In the first few years, it was fine. There were just some minor conflicts and secret hostility. But since last year, the other forces began to act openly. The Immortal Seeking Palace had recruited a few thousand martial artists, and their strength had increased tremendously. In the past few years, they had already suffered a lot. Under the provocation of those major factions, it was inevitable that a war would break out. The outcome of the battle was a crushing defeat for the Immortal Seeking Palace. This was because there were simply too many powerhouses that were infinitely close to the Great Perfection stage. The Immortal Seeking Palace had no choice but to flee in defeat. They had already found an escape route and went to seek refuge in a nearby major force, the Tiger Fong Hall. That big force was similar to the Milky Way Society. Originally, the warriors of the Immortal Seeking Palace thought that they were safe. Unless the Milky Way Society wanted to start a war with the Tiger Fong Hall, it was impossible for them to attack. However, they did not expect that the Milky Way gang would really attack. They used the excuse of cleaning up the traitors. If the Tiger Fong Hall did not hand over all the warriors of the Immortal Seeking Palace, they would bathe the Tiger Fong Mountain in blood. Tiger Fong Hall naturally refused to accept this, and the two forces started a war. This war lasted for half a year, and in the end, Tiger Fong Hall lost miserably. The Tiger Fong Hall was about the same as the Milky Way gang. After the Immortal Seek Palace joined them, they were slightly stronger. The reason why they were defeated was that another major force had joined in. That force was at the same level as the Tianhe Society's Tiger Fong Hall. Two giant lions besieging a ferocious tiger. The outcome could be imagined. After the defeat of the Tiger Fong Hall, the Immortal Seeking Palace had nowhere to retreat and could only escape. The Milky Way gang sent experts to chase after them. They had been chasing for more than half a year. When they left the Tiger Fong Mountain, there were more than 3,000 warriors. A portion of them were killed, and most of them escaped. Only less than 1,000 were left. Out of the 3 palace lords, only 2 were left. The second palace lord died in battle to cover their retreat. The once powerful Immortal Seeking Palace had become a stray dog. This made the remaining warriors of the Immortal Seeking Palace feel very sad, confused, and fearful. The joint attack formation was the weapon for the rise of the Immortal Seeking Palace. And it was also because of the joint attack formation that the Immortal Seeking Palace became like this. However, the 2 palace lords did not give up. The Milky Way gang sent a message that as long as they handed over Mo Qianqian, Yu Yang, and Luan Shi, they would stop the pursuit. However, the 2 palace lords never gave up. There were several times when they were protecting them, and the 2 palace lords were injured multiple times. The 2 palace lords knew clearly that as long as the 3 of them were here, the Immortal Seeking Palace could rise at any time. If the 3 of them were captured by the Milky Way gang, the Immortal Seeking Palace would be completely finished. They did not know how long it would take for them to rise again. The 2 palace lords had actually thought about learning the joint attack formation. With their combat power, they could escape at any time. However, the Milky Way gang was hot on their heels. This battle formation was very complicated and could not be learned easily. Mo Qianqian, Yu Yang, and Luan Shi were not stupid. This joint attack formation was their protective talisman. Once it was leaked, the 3 of them would die. Therefore, when the 2 palace lords tried to get information, they said that they would not be able to learn it without 10 years. The Milky Way gang did not go too far. Otherwise, with 7 or 8 supreme experts, they would have all been slaughtered. The reason for this was that the Tiger Fong Mountain had not been completely pacified. The Tiger Fong Hall was not willing to give up and was preparing to counterattack. In addition, they were afraid that the 2 princesses of the Immortal Seeking Palace would kill Mo Qianqian, Luan Shi, Yu Yang, and the others. Therefore, the Milky Way gang sent 4 experts who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm and 5,000 elite warriors to follow them. They wanted to kill the troops of the Immortal Seeking Palace bit by bit and destroy the psychological defense of the 2 palace lords. They also wanted to see if Luan Shi, Yu Yang, and Mo Qianqian would take the initiative to join them. They're chasing us again. You guys escape to the west. As long as we escape to Peach Garden City, we will be safe. For hours later, Gui Wan, who was in the cave, opened his eyes. He waved his hand and said, "Third brother, take them and retreat first. I will bring up the rear." "Big brother." The 3rd palace lord panicked and shouted, "Your injuries are more serious than mine. You take everyone and retreat. I will bring up the rear. You will die if you stay here." Gui Wan said in an unquestionable tone, "Stop talking nonsense. This is an order. Go." The 3rd palace lord waved his hand helplessly and led a group of people to escape. In fact, the martial artists could enter the spatial artifacts of the 2 palace lords. It would be faster to escape that way. However, in this situation, who would believe the 2 palace lords? If the 2 palace lords were killed or captured, they would not be able to control their own fate. Besides, many martial artists already had the idea of escaping during the chaos. Naturally, they would not enter the spatial artifacts of the 2 palace lords. Gui Wan and the others were well aware of this. They did not mention this matter to avoid embarrassment. It did not matter who they followed in the immortal domain. Anyway, they were just followers. As long as they were given food, they would be their parents. As long as they were not treated too badly, it was fine. Swish! The 3rd palace lord ran away with Yu Yang, Mo Qianqian, and the others. They did not dare to fly high in the sky. They could only fly quickly in the vast mountains. The mountains were surrounded by clouds and mist. Not only was vision and divine sense restricted, but it was also advantageous for them to escape. Alas, when will such days come to an end? Mo Qianqian looked at the vast mountains in the distance while escaping. She murmured in a voice that only she could hear, "Go to Peach Garden City?" The force in Peach Garden City is only a medium-sized force, right? If we go there, what if the Celestial River Army comes again? What should we run to? If Luli is here, he'll have a way. Chapter 34-24. When Luli and the others arrived at the Dongling city, they were warmly received by the clan. Even the clan leader of the clan came out in person. Even though he only showed his face, he was a powerful warrior at the consummate realm. The clan king was giving Yu face. Of course, he was giving Xiaobai face even more. The Yu family's first young master and first young mistress didn't give Little White any face because they were on the same level. Compared to the Eastern region's king's clan, there was an entire level of difference. The clan was the Yu clan's subsidiary clan. The clan leader's appearance was naturally for the king of the Eastern region to see. It meant that since his son had come to his territory, he should give him face and not cause trouble for him in the future. He was also afraid that Little White would cause trouble here. After all, this young lord of the Eastern region was famous for being violent. Since his debut, he had always been competing with the sons of the other realm kings and had fought many battles. When they arrived at the Eastern Spirit City, Luli wanted to go to the Milky Way City right away. However, since the Yu family had given him so much respect, Little White couldn't go too far. Lord Yu also tried to persuade Luli, so Luli had to stay for the banquet. During the banquet, the clan king showed his face. The Grand Elder and the Second Elder were all present. However, they only sat for a short while before leaving the space for the younger generation. All the young masters and young mistresses of the main branch of the clan came and tried their best to please Little White. Little White was arrogant and didn't like these social gatherings. Maybe this was because of Luli. Therefore, they just treated it with indifference. The young masters and young ladies realized that they could not do anything to Little White, so they all turned to Luli. They were interested in Luli as well. A warrior at the later stage of the Emperor realm, a human at that, could be on an equal footing with Little White and Xiaobai's boss. Who would have thought that this late-stage martial emperor would be so arrogant? Facing a group of Saint Emperor young masters and young ladies, he actually responded coldly. This made the young masters and young mistresses of the clan secretly unhappy, but they couldn't show it in public. On the surface, both sides seemed to be enjoying themselves, but in fact, they parted on bad terms. The next day, Luli didn't want to wait any longer. He told Little White to set off right away. The Milky Way city was not far away anyway. It would only take them 2 or 3 days to get there at full speed. Luli didn't want to waste time with the human race. All right, I'll listen to you. Little White nodded and asked Lord Yu to come over. Lord Yu suggested to inform the Moon Lady race. Luli waved his hand and said, never mind. Let's not waste time with them, or else it will be another day. It's not a big deal for us to go there. We'll pick them up from Tiana City and leave. How about you guys stay, and I sneak away? I'll be back in 7 or 8 days. Yesterday, the clan elder had said that he would be inviting them to a banquet today. At that time, all the clan leaders in Dongling City would come to express their respect for the king of the eastern region. Luli hated this kind of banquet. It was meaningless and a waste of time. How can we do that? Xiaobai glared at him and said, Boss, I must go with you. How can I miss such an important matter like welcoming the 2 sisters-in-law? Luli thought about it and said, how about I put you into my interspatial artifact and leave directly? After all, I'm not friends with the Xian race. There is no need to waste time with them. Sure, Little White said carelessly. He trusted Lu Li completely. He didn't even think that Lu Li would harm him. Lordy was a little hesitant. He thought for a moment and said, how about this? I will release my great teleportation ability and bring you out of the city. It doesn't matter even if the clan king senses it. All right, Luli nodded. Lordy didn't care anymore. He released a powerful skill. A ray of light enveloped Luli, Little White, and the other powerful warriors. After a flash of white light, Luli and the others vanished from the castle. As soon as they left, many people sensed them with psychic power. The space here was shaking violently. There were so many powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm in the city. How could they not sense it? Leaving without saying goodbye. The son of the king of the eastern region is so rude. No matter how strong an immortal beast is, it is still a beast. In essence, it is a beast. Many powerful warriors of the Xian race were unhappy. One patriarch even began a curse. The other powerful warriors, young masters and young ladies, were unhappy as well. They were already upset last night. Now, they were even more furious. Don't worry about them. The chief patriarch ordered the Hall of Scouts to keep an eye out to see where Little White had gone. What were they going to do? They weren't worried that Little White would do anything. The son of the king of the eastern region had everything he wanted. Would he come here to fight for territory and treasures? He wouldn't come here for no reason, would he? They didn't seem to want to kill him. Lord Yu teleported to a place thousands of miles away. He took out a battleship. Little White and Lu Li boarded, and then the battleship flew away. The battleship was not large, but it was fast. It was even faster than a warrior close to the consummate realm. It must be the best battleship in the world. Also, the battleship must be strong in defense. Luli could tell there were many powerful rune formations on the ship. I think we will be there in 2 days. Luli was in a better mood after sensing the speed. Yiyang was his brother. Even though Mo, Qianqian, and Luan Shi were lovers, they still had feelings for each other. It had been some years since they left. Luli missed them. Luli wanted to cultivate in peace for a couple of days. He needed to study the traceless Tao, and there was a tripod in his realm of magic waiting to be consumed. However, Little White was too active. It cannot stay still. One moment, it would chat with Luli. Then, it would share some fruits and liquids with Luli. Then it would talk about interesting stories of the eastern region. Luli could not focus on cultivation. Fortunately, Luli didn't cultivate during the 2 days. He just chatted with Little White. After a day of chatting, Luli asked with curiosity, Little White, do you cultivate on a regular basis? Not really, Little White answered casually, but when I first came back, my father threw me into a pond, and I was trapped there. I cultivated in there for 300 years. The liquid in the pond was amazing. I absorbed a lot, and my abilities improved quickly. Every month, I am different. Well, boss, you're cultivating your body as well. I will take you there to cultivate for a while. I promise you that your physical body will improve quickly. Luli rolled his eyes. How nice it was to have a father like Little White. But it must have something to do with the fact that Little White was a heaven-swallowing beast. Little White was an immortal beast. When it reached adulthood, its abilities would reach a high realm. Back in a mortal world, Little White's abilities were weak because it was sealed. 2 days passed quickly while they were chatting. The Milky Way city came into sight. Luli checked with psychic power, but soon his face turned ghastly pale. He was filled with killing intent. What is it, boss? Little White had been lying down. Seeing Luli like this, Little White jumped up and said in a serious tone, Boss, is something wrong? Yes. Luli nodded and said, My 3 friends are not in the city. Not only them, all the warriors of the Palace of Immortals and Choirs are gone as well. Luli wouldn't be so worried if it were just you young and the other 3. But all the warriors of the Palace of Immortals and Choirs were gone. What was more, many manors of the Palace of Immortals and Choirs were in ruins. Clearly, there were traces of battles. All these indicated that the Palace of Immortals and Choirs was in trouble. Yu Yang and the other 2 might be arrested or even killed. Chapter 34-25. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The approach of the battleship alarmed the armies and powerful warriors at the Milky Way city. Teams of warriors flew up, and many powerful psychic powers were sent over. The Milky Way Society had a large territory. Most of their powerful warriors were at the Tiger Tooth Mountain, but this was their lair. Naturally, they would not give it up. There were 2 powerful warriors that were almost at the consummate realm in charge. A team of warriors flew over, trying to stop the battleship and ask questions. However, Little White was not in a good mood after seeing Luli's killing intent. He shouted coldly, Smash them away! The powerful warrior controlling the battleship dared not to disobey Little White's order. What was more, there were just over 100 average warriors. So what if they were killed? He immediately controlled the warship to suddenly increase its speed, and in an instant, crashed into the group of soldiers. Boom, boom, boom. The speed of the warship was too fast, and the group of soldiers couldn't react in time. In an instant, more than 10 soldiers were sent flying, and the rest of the soldiers attacked. Unfortunately, the defense of the warship was too strong, and their attacks couldn't break the shield of the warship. On the deck of the battleship, a powerful warrior that was almost at the consummate realm snorted. It was like a bolt from the blue. All the warriors nearby felt pain in their souls, and their heads were smashed. Whoosh, 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 the Milky Way city was in an uproar. The tens of thousands of warriors guarding here all flew up at once. The 2 powerful warriors that were almost at the consummate realm flew up as well, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. The shield on the battleship was on. Average warriors could not see inside, but Luli could. There were 6 powerful warriors that were almost at the consummate realm in the battleship. More importantly, the battleship was of a high level. Only super forces could have it. The 2 powerful warriors flew to the front of the city. One of them shouted, Guys, this is the Milky Way Society. I am the 4th patriarch of the Milky Way Society. The Milky Way Society is an affiliated force of the human race. What business do you have at the Milky Way city? The battleship stopped 3 miles away from the city. The shield was off, revealing Luli and Little White on the deck. The warriors were confused. They did not know these powerful warriors. Only the warrior at the later stage of the Imperial Emperor realm looked familiar. After all, the Milky Way Society was a small force. For them, the king of the eastern region was too far away, so they did not pay much attention. Perhaps some martial artists had seen Little White's portrait before, but they were unable to react in time. Why would the young lord of the eastern region come to this godforsaken place? Little White said nothing. It stared at the 2 powerful warriors coldly, while Lord Yu looked at Luli. Luli took a deep breath and said, "Where are the warriors of the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries? Where did he go?" Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Luli's words caused the expressions of the two experts and many other Saint Emperors to change drastically. These experts were allies of the Immortals' Inquiries Palace? Was he here to avenge the Immortals' Seeking Palace? Since when did he get to know so many supreme experts? The eyes of the fourth elder of the Milky Way Society flickered a few times. He said, "The Immortals' Seeking Palace has moved away. They are no longer in Milky Way City. They have nothing to do with our Milky Way Society." "Where did you move to?" Luli's tone turned cold. He had a bad feeling judging from the expressions of the two powerful warriors of the Heaven River Society. Naturally, they would not buy his nonsense. Azura City. Patriarch 4 decided to go on with his lie. He said, "The Palace of Immortals' Inquiries has climbed up the social ladder. The Milky Way Society doesn't care about them anymore. Go to the Azura City and find them." Patriarch 4 decided to fool Luli away first, so that they could be prepared when they came back. There were not many powerful warriors in the city, and they were no match for Luli. Patriarch 4 didn't want to face them head-on. "Bullsh asterisk T," Luli bellowed. When Patriarch 4 said this, many warriors behind him were stunned. Clearly, Patriarch 4 was lying. Luli didn't want to waste any more time. He said coldly, "I am Luli. I used to work for the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries, and I lived at the Milky Way City for a while. So, you don't have to lie to me. Tell me about the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries, and I will remember our old friendship." "Luli? It's him. I was wondering why he looked so familiar. I have seen him before." "Who? Is he famous?" "Of course. He is the one who built the formation of the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries." The warriors were shocked. Even though Luli didn't stay long, and he kept a low profile and disappeared for so many years, there were still warriors who had seen him. They all came to their senses at this moment. "It's him?" Patriarch 4 was taken aback. He had a headache. Was Luli trying to help the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries against the Milky Way Society? He had brought back 5 powerful warriors, but so what? The Milky Way Society was much more powerful than before. It had 5 or 6 small forces and 14 powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm in total. Patriarch 4 thought about it for a while. Remembering that the Milky Way Society had recently gained the favor of a patriarch with real power, Patriarch 4 couldn't help but straighten his back. He coldly said, "Luli, you have left the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries. Then why are you still meddling in the affairs of the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries?" "The Palace of Immortals' Inquiries has rebelled. They are now the enemy of the Milky Way Society. If you want to help the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries, then you will become the enemy of the Milky Way Society. The Milky Way Society is an affiliated force of the Milky Way Society. To go against the Milky Way Society is to go against the Milky Way Society." "Shut up." Luli pulled a long face. The Palace of Immortals' Inquiries had rebelled? Did that mean all the warriors of the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries were killed? Mo Chantian and Luan, she of the Son of Feather, were killed as well? On this thought, Luli was filled with killing intent. If Son of Feather died, how could he explain to the Yu family when he returned to the Chaotic Star region? Luli glared at Patriarch 4 and shouted coldly, "Let me ask you, are Mo Chantian and Luan, she of the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries, dead?" To be honest, Patriarch 4 didn't know whether the 3 were dead or not. They stayed here, and the other patriarchs were in charge of hunting down the Palace of Immortals' Inquiries. There was no news. Therefore, the 4th elder pondered for a moment and said, "No comment. This old man advises you to behave yourself. Otherwise, very good." Luli could not stand it anymore. He released the traceless way and vanished in midair. When he was invisible, not even Lord you could see him, not to mention the 2 powerful warriors of the Milky Way Society who were close to the consummate realm. Buzzing, the next second, Luli suddenly appeared behind the 2 patriarchs of the Milky Way Society. Then flames surged out from his body. Not only were there black flames, but there were also poisonous flames. Luli said in a cold voice, "Since I have no comment, then you don't have to talk from now on." "Ah, Under Lu Li's sneak attack, the two powerful warriors reacted at the last moment and sensed fatal danger. However, Lu Li came out without a sound. As soon as he came out, the black flames spread out and enveloped them. The two patriarchs had no chance to run away. They were caught in the flames at once. The two patriarchs tumbled around. Their bodies were being burned at a speed visible to the naked eye. They tried to run away in terror, but the black flames were so strong that they were burned to death after flying for only several miles. Boom! The two bodies fell to the ground. The black flames still enveloped them. Soon, they were burned into ashes. Not even their bones were left. Because of the horrifying flames, the surrounding area was scorched as well. "Oh my boss, you are so fierce," Little White swallowed. Then a glint of violence rose in its eyes. It waved its hand and said, "What are you waiting for? Kill them all. Leave no one alive." Chapter 34:26. For Lord Yu, Little White's order was like an imperial edict, not to mention that it was just killing tens of thousands of average warriors. Therefore, several powerful warriors took actions and wiped out a large number of warriors. By the time Lu Li realized what was going on, more than half of the tens of thousands of warriors had been killed. Lord Yu and the other warriors could kill average warriors as easily as killing chickens with a butcher's knife. Okay now, Lu Li waved his hand to Little White. Little White always carried out Lu Li's orders out of instinct. Maybe it had been listening to Lu Li since it was young. Lord Yu and the others came back as Lu Li shouted. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. More than half of the 20,000 warriors in the city had already fled in all directions. Lu Li didn't care about the regular warriors. He scanned with his psychic power and locked onto several Saint Kings. He flew over and arrived in front of them. "Lord, please spare our lives." The Saint Emperors were scared out of their wits. Two warriors who were close to the absolute realm were killed by Lu Li. They had lost the will to fight back or run away. The only thing they could do was to beg for mercy. "Answer some questions, and I will let you go," Lu Li said coldly. The Saint Emperors looked at each other. One of them made up his mind and said, "Lord, please ask. We will tell you everything we know." They were betraying the Milky Way society. However, in the immortal region, the loyalty of warriors was limited. As long as they could survive, they could go to other places and find other forces to join. What could the Milky Way society do to them? "Tell me about the Palace of Immortals Inquires." Lu Li went straight to the point. One of the Saint Emperors began to tell Lu Li about the suppression years ago, the betrayal of the Palace of Immortals Inquires, and the latest news. He told Lu Li everything. Being hunted? Lu Li's eyes flickered. He thought about it and asked, "Was the latest news? Have Mo Qianqian and the others been killed or captured?" "I don't know." The Saint Emperor shook his head. "We are only here to guard, not to hunt. We don't know the situation. If you want the latest information, you must go to the Tiger Tooth Mountain or the Dragon Mountain directly." "Do you have a map of the nearby areas?" Lu Li asked. The Saint Emperor took out the map at once. Lu Li said coldly, "I will take you in my interspatial artifact. Do not resist. If your intelligence is correct, I promise to let you go. If you're lying, then don't blame me." Lu Li took out his interspatial artifact. Those Saint Emperors sighed helplessly and let Lu Li take them in. Lu Li flew to Little White and shouted, "Little White, let's go to the Dragon Mountain. Go." Little White waved its hand. A powerful warrior took out a battleship. Lu Li and the others flew away at once. Soon, they disappeared into the southwest sky. There were still some warriors here. They didn't dare to leave for fear of angering Little Bai and Lu Li. Only when Lu Li and the others left did the warriors feel relieved. There were soldiers flying back from afar. Soon, countless communication arrays lit up, sending the news to chaotic Yang City and Tiger Fong Mountain. The chief of the Milky Way Society received the news after only an hour. He was furious. He still remembered Lu Li. In the past, he tried to poach Lu Li to his side, but Lu Li refused. But Lu Li had come back after a few years, and he even brought 5 powerhouses who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm. He had also reached this level, but that was not the point. The point was that Lu Li was so cruel. He killed two patriarchs at once. The president of the Milky Way Society was furious. The Milky Way Society was no longer the Milky Way Society of the past. The current Milky Way Society could be regarded as a well-known force in the entire southern region. Especially since they had recently gotten close to the Gue clan, this made the president of the Milky Way Society even more confident. If it weren't for the secret support of the Gue clan, how could he have taken down Tiger Tooth Mountain so easily? The reason why the Milky Way Society could expand so smoothly was also because of the tacit consent of the Gue clan. Otherwise, the Milky Way Society would not have dared to be so unscrupulous. Therefore, the president of the Milky Way Society didn't mind Lu Li coming back with several powerful warriors. They had more than a dozen warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm, and they could ask for help at any time. If you were to ask for help from the Gue race, it wouldn't be difficult to get a dozen or so experts who were infinitely close to the Paragon level. The outcome had been decided. Now, Lu Li was creating new problems. He walked up and down in a castle. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he gave an order. This time, he planned to go to the Dragon Mountain in person. He didn't bring an army with him, just 10 powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm. He wanted to see how Lu Li, a powerful dragon, was going to beat him, a local bully. 2 hours later, a battleship flew out from Tiger Tooth Mountain. The president of the Milky Way Society flew toward the south with the 10 powerful warriors. Lu Li was fast. The battleship was a top-level one. In half a day, they arrived at the Dragon Mountain. The mountain was vast, covering an area of tens of billions of miles. The terrain was intricate. There were many relics, immortal beasts, and some powerful formations left behind. That was why Inquisitor Gue and the others came here. It was more convenient for them to run away. Lu Li didn't know where to find Yu Yang and the others after they arrived. He had to fly the battleship in the sky while the powerful warriors searched around with psychic power. There are traces of battle. Not long after they arrived at the Dragon Mountain, Lu Li found traces of battle and some bodies. Judging by the bodies, they hadn't been dead for long, only 10 days or half a month. Those Saint Emperors didn't lie. Powerful warriors of the Palace of Immortals Inquires did come here. Since there were traces, it made things easier. The battleship followed the traces, and it took them half a day. All of a sudden, Lu Li's expressions changed. He shouted in surprise, "Powerful warriors of the Palace of Immortals Inquires." There were traces of a fierce battle down there. The mountains were blasted into many abysses. At the bottom of one of the abysses, Lu Li found a headless body. It hadn't been long, only 1 or 2 days. Lu Li saw a token on the body, which he had a vague impression of. Even though the headless body was dead, it was still emitting powerful chi and energy. Lu Li could tell right away that it was a powerful warrior infinitely close to the consummate realm. There were only 3 masters of the Palace of Immortals Inquires. It was said that one of them had died. Who was this? Inquisitor Gue? Lu Li suddenly remembered something. He turned pale again. He remembered that he had seen this token on Inquisitor Gue. Master of the Palace of Immortals Inquires was dead. Could Yu Yang and Mo Qianqian still be alive? Go after them. Lu Li thought about it and shouted, "Inquisitor Gue died not long ago. There are no warriors of the Palace of Immortals Inquires nearby. It means that the other warriors of the Palace of Immortals Inquires have run away. We may be able to catch up with them." The battleship flew away. The powerful warriors were trying their best to search. Lu Li's eyes reddened. He murmured in a cold voice, "Yu Yang, Qianqian, Wan Shi, you cannot die. If something happens to you, I swear I will kill all the warriors of the Milky Way Association to avenge you." Remember the mobile website, Chapter 3432 Dragon Mountain, page 1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 3427. Mo Qianqian and Luan Shi were not dead yet. Gue Wen used his death to delay the army. giving them a chance to escape. They were about to escape the coiling Dragon Mountain Range. As long as they left the coiling Dragon Mountain Range and flew southwest for half a day, they would arrive at Peach Blossom City. The Peach Blossom City Lord and Gui were friends in the past. If they could take them in, they would be able to hold out for a while. The Tiana Society had just taken over the Tiger Fong Hall's territory. They would need time to digest it. Then, they would have time to catch their breath, and when the time came, they could slowly make plans. Big Brother is dead. The life token in the third Palace Master's hand shattered. He was filled with grief and indignation, but he could not show it. At this moment, his heart was at a loss. Even Gui was dead. Could he still live on? He was not friends with the Peach Blossom City Lord. Could he take them in? The third Palace Master even thought of abandoning all the cultivators and escaping alone. Could he contend against the Milky Way Society on his own? Also, the Peach Blossom City was not very strong. Could they withstand the pressure from the Tianhe Society? As long as there was life, there would be hope. As long as he was alive, there would be a chance for revenge. If he died, everything would be meaningless. The third Palace Master wavered. He thought of forcefully putting Mo Qianqian and Luan Shi into his spatial divine tool. That way, his chances of escaping would be much higher. No, soon, the third Palace Master tossed this thought aside. The Tiana Society would not rest until they caught the three of them. He would be chased no matter where he went. By then, only death awaited him. Kill the three of them? If I can't get them, I can't let the Tianhe Society get them. Another thought flashed in the third Palace Master's mind. If he killed the three of them and left, the Tianhe Society would not chase after him, right? After all, he was not important. Never mind. The third Palace Master quickly shook his head. The third Palace Master and the second Palace Master had sacrificed themselves to protect the three of them. If he did that, the two Palace Masters would have died for nothing. They would not be able to rest in peace in heaven. I'll risk it and go to Peach Blossom City to take a look. Finally, he made up his mind. He would go to Peach Blossom City to take a look. Even if he died, he would have done his best. He shouted, "Speed up, the enemy could catch up at any time." He increased his speed slightly, but the problem was that it was useless. There were some early-stage Saint Emperors among them, and their speed was only so fast. Unless he gave up on those martial artists at this moment, the morale of the army was at an all-time low. If he were to do this, the Immortal Seeking Palace would completely collapse. Luan Xiu didn't know if Mo Qianqian would go with him, so he could only patiently fly with most of them. Yu Yang sighed. He, Mo Qianqian, and Luan Shi felt that they were in a precarious situation and could die at any moment. They knew very well that even if all the warriors of the Immortal Seeking Palace were killed, the Milky Way Society would not kill them. But even if they didn't kill them now, it didn't mean that they wouldn't kill them in the future. Once they went to Tiana City and learned the joint battle formation, it would be their doomsday. Mo Qianqian and Luan Shi could rely on their top-notch looks to be accepted into the harem of some experts to protect their lives. He could also bend his knees and surrender to an elder of the Milky Way Society to survive. But would the three of them do that? Therefore, the three of them were very confused. At this moment, they were all thinking of one person. If Luli was here, they wouldn't have such a headache. Luli would definitely be able to lead them out of this predicament. Li Heng didn't die. 6 of the 9 elites from the Grim Reaper were still alive. Li Heng and the others were not of the same mind as Mo Qianqian and Yu Yang. They were all thinking about how to find a chance to escape instead of dying with Yu Yang, Mo Qianqian, and Luan Shi. After flying for more than 2 hours, they left the coiling Dragon Mountain Range. Their speed increased slightly. Originally, the third Palace Master could take out his battleship, but that would be too big of a target and would be easily discovered. They flew close to the ground and kept a low profile. The third Palace Master was constantly checking the surrounding situation. His heart was tense, and he was thinking about what he should do if the Milky Way Society caught up with them. Should he fight with his life or kill Yu Yang, Mo Qianqian, and Luan Shi before escaping? 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. The army behind them hadn't caught up yet. The third palace master was a bit relieved. It seemed that the Inquisitor ghost had bought them enough time. They should be able to make it to the Peach Blossom City. Faster! We will arrive at the Peach Blossom City in 2 hours. The third palace master shouted. The warriors were excited. If they could make it to the Peach Blossom City, they might have a chance to survive. At least, they could take advantage of the chaos in the city to run away. Right? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3.5 hours. When a small city appeared at the end of their sight, all the warriors smiled faintly. They had finally arrived at the Peach Blossom City. They could survive for now. However, the third palace master noticed something was wrong. The shield of the Peach Blossom City was activated. Normally, the shield of the Peach Blossom City would not be activated. Could it be that the Peach Blossom City had received the news and was preparing for battle in advance? Whoosh! Soon, they arrived outside the Peach Blossom City. The warriors had already discovered this place and activated the shield of the Peach Blossom City. A yellow light barrier enveloped the entire city. There were warriors on the city walls. The warriors stopped outside the city. The third palace master locked his eyes on a late-stage Saint Emperor and said, "We are from the Immortal Seeking Palace. Please inform the city lord that the Inquisitor Ghost's younger brother is here to visit." There is no need to inform him. The Saint Emperor's voice resounded in the minds of all the warriors. Our city lord has said that the Peach Blossom City will not interfere in the battle between you and the Milky Way gang. Please leave. Swish, swish, swish. The third palace master and the warriors' expressions changed drastically. This was their last hope. They had come from far away only to find that this hope had already rotted and could not save their lives. Whoosh! Right at this moment, 4 huge warships tore through the air from behind, splitting into 4 directions and flying over at almost the same time, surrounding the Immortal Seeking Palace martial artists. There was an expert close to consummation realm in each warship. There were also over 1,000 elite soldiers. All the soldiers had mocking expressions on their faces, as if they were mocking them silently. Heaven's Inquisition! A thunderous shout resounded. An expert who was infinitely close to the consummation realm roared, "You still want to enter Peach Blossom City? Hee. The Gouet race already sent a message. They would not dare to help you, even if they were 100 times more courageous." Not only the Peach Blossom City, but all the nearby forces also received the message from the Gouet race. So, you have nowhere to run. No one can help you. Wow, the warriors of the Immortal Seeking Palace were shocked. Their eyes were filled with fear, and they had completely lost their composure. Some of the warriors even wanted to kneel down and surrender. Yang Mo, Qian, and Luan, she also revealed expressions of despair. Heaven's Inquisition! The expert shouted again and said, "Our president sees that you are a great genius. As long as you surrender, we will still give you the position of an elder. The same goes for the other warriors of the Immortal Seeking Palace. As long as you surrender, you will also be an elite disciple of the Milky Way gang. If you resist to the end, then the area outside the Peach Blossom City will be your burial ground." Third Sect Master. Chapter 34-28. Heaven's Inquisition and the 2 palace masters weren't blood-related brothers, but they were more than that. The 3 of them had been together for tens of thousands of years, and Heaven's Inquisition had always addressed them as big brother and second brother. Now that Gouet I and the second palace master had died in the hands of the Milky Way Society, would Heaven's Inquisition surrender to them? The answer was no. Heaven's Inquisition's eyes turned red, and there was no other thought in his mind except for one: to die here today and fight to the death. Death was certain today, but Heaven's Inquisition wasn't too anxious. Since he was going to die, no matter what, he had to think of a way to drag some martial artists down with him. If he could drag an expert who was infinitely close to the perfection realm to die together with him, it would be considered perfect. He pondered for a moment, and his expression gradually calmed down. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said, "Fu Mo, can your words represent your president?" N? The four elders of the Milky Way Society were slightly startled. They originally thought that Heaven's Inquisition would definitely fight to the death or flee. They didn't expect Heaven's Inquisition to have the intention to surrender. They didn't have high hopes for Heaven's Inquisition to surrender, and the reason why they said that was because they wanted Mo Tianqian and Luan Shi to surrender. The three of them were treasures, and they didn't want them to be hurt. Otherwise, the martial artists of the Immortal Seeking Palace would have been wiped out half a month ago. Since Heaven's Inquisition had the intention to surrender, they naturally wanted to accept it. The Milky Way Society had a large territory now, and the more experts they had, the better. This way, the Milky Way Society could grow stronger. Ordinary Saint Emperors didn't matter, but Heaven's Inquisition's combat strength wasn't bad. Elder Fu Mo nodded and said, "Before I came, the President gave me full authority to handle this matter. So, Heaven's Inquisition, you don't have to worry. You have lived in the Milky Way City for so long, and our President is open-minded. You should know that as long as you come, there will definitely be an elder position." Open-minded? Heaven's Inquisition sneered in his heart. If he was truly open-minded, how could he not accept the Immortal Seeking Palace? These were all **T, but he revealed a conflicted expression on his face. He pondered for the time it took for an incense stick to burn before saying, "I want an elder position with real power. Otherwise, I would rather die." When Heaven's Inquisition said this, the elders of the Milky Way Society heaved a sigh of relief. The soldiers of the Immortal Seeking Palace were also relieved. As long as Heaven's Inquisition was willing to surrender, everything else could be discussed. So what if the elder with real power was given to him now? He could slowly adjust it later. The most important thing was that Heaven's Inquisition had surrendered. That meant that Yu Yang, Mo Tianqian, and Luan Shi would be safe. As long as he could obtain these three treasures, everything else didn't matter. Many of the Immortal Seeking Palace's martial artists had long wanted to surrender. If they didn't surrender, only death awaited them. There was no future in the Immortal Quest Palace. So what if he followed the Milky Way Society? If he really couldn't do it, he would sneak away and go to another faction to develop. Fu Mo nodded and said, "No problem. The President has also delegated this authority to me. Heaven's Inquisition, you should know that I have a certain amount of authority in the Milky Way Society. I can guarantee this." All right. Heaven's Inquisition slightly nodded and cupped his fist at the soldiers behind him. "Everyone, my Immortal Inquisition Palace is incompetent and has implicated you. From today onwards, the Immortal Seeking Palace will be disbanded. If you're willing to follow me to the Milky Way Society, stand on the left. If you're not, stand on the right. I can't give you too many guarantees. I can only promise that as long as I, Tian1, am alive, I won't let you guys have a hard time in the Milky Way Society." Swish! Many martial artists, including Li Heng and the others, immediately stood on the left. No one wanted to die. If they stood on the right, they would definitely die immediately. No martial artist was that stupid. Yu Yang, Mo Tianqian, and Luan Shi exchanged glances. The three of them had a helpless look in their eyes. They didn't expect Heaven's Inquisition to surrender. They didn't really care, as they didn't have any deep hatred with the Milky Way Society. A few of the Grim Reaper's young masters and young mistresses died, but they didn't have a good relationship with them. It was inevitable that there would be casualties in a battle between two armies. Yu Yang and Luan Shi flew to the left. Mo Tianqian was a little hesitant. It wasn't that she didn't want to follow the main force. She just felt that Heaven's Inquisition was a little strange. With her understanding of Heaven's Inquisition, he shouldn't be so spineless, right? His two brothers have been killed, and he still wanted to be dogged for the enemy? This wasn't his character. Tianqian. Yu Yang saw that Mo Tianqian didn't move and quickly shouted. Mo Tianqian came to a realization and helplessly flew to the left. The remaining soldiers quickly went to the left and were all willing to surrender. Good. Fu Mo's face was full of smiles as he swept his gaze over the cultivators of Immortal Seeking Palace. His gaze lingered on Yu Yang, Mo Tianqian, and Luan Shi for a few breaths before he nodded and said, "Everyone here is an elite. It's inevitable that we fought for our own masters, but in the future, we will all be one family. This seat can guarantee that you will receive the best treatment. As long as you have talent, you will definitely not be buried in the Milky Way society. The latter sentence was obviously meant for Yu Yang, Mo Chantian, and Luan Shi. The other cultivators of a mortal-seeking palace felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. It was good enough that they were still alive. Whether or not they had a future, they could worry about that later. Everyone, listen up. Seal your source chi in your spatial rings. Remove your combat strength and await Master Fu Mo's orders. Heaven's Inquisition shouted. He then took out his spatial ring and threw it at Fu Mo. At the same time, his body flashed as he sealed his divine core. He knelt down on one knee and said, Master Fu Mo, Heaven's Inquisition surrenders. Heaven's Inquisition had handed over his spatial ring and sealed his source chi. This was a clear indication of his intention to surrender. He had placed his life in Fu Mo's hands. There's no need for this. There's no need for this. Fu Mo smiled and waved his hand. Brother Heaven's Inquisition, please lead them to the battleship on the left and follow us back to Tiger Fong Mountain. The president will reward you when we return. The elder on the left battleship flew down with the soldiers, emptying the battleship. Heaven's Inquisition bowed and said, Yes, everyone board the battleship. Yu Yang and the others followed Heaven's Inquisition and flew towards the battleship. At this moment, Fu Mo spoke up. Yu Yang, Mo Chantian, Luan Shi, please come to my battleship. I have some important matters to discuss with the three of you. Yu Yang and the others were startled. They subconsciously looked at Heaven's Inquisition. However, Heaven's Inquisition waved his hand and said, We are all members of the Milky Way society now. In the future, you will have to listen to the orders of the various lords. Hurry up and go. Yu Yang, Mo Chantian, and Luan Shi could only fly towards the battleship. When Fu Mo and the others saw this, the smiles on the faces of the four elders of the Milky Way society became even wider. Heaven's Inquisition even handed over the three of them. It seemed like he was sincerely surrendering. Yu Yang and the others flew over and bowed. Fu Mo was full of smiles as he personally helped the three of them up and said, The three of you don't have to do this. The three of you are all rare geniuses. Don't worry. When we return to Tiger Fong Mountain, the president will definitely satisfy the three of you. Yu Yang slightly nodded and said, Then we will have to trouble the various lords to take care of us in the future. Good. The four elders looked at Yu Yang and the others with smiles on their faces. Obtaining these three people was equivalent to obtaining a powerful battle formation. The Milky Way society was very powerful now. After obtaining the battle formation, their combat strength would soar. After developing for a few thousand years, they might even become a superpower like the Gui race and dominate the southern region. Swish! Just when the attention of the four elders was on Yu Yang and the others, a soft sound echoed. Following that, a terrifying killing intent permeated the air. The four elders were startled, but it was already too late. A long spear had already ruthlessly stabbed into the back of the elder on the left. Third Sect Master, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.